Now it's good.
Hello, welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. Our guest today is Tim Mccarthy. Tim, you ready to be great today?
Yes, I am.
In late 2000, Tim founded Tsunami Tattoo in Tacoma, where it remained in the same location on 38th Street for 20 years. In 2021, Tim decided to take the company in a whole different direction. He wanted to provide his clients a more fulfilling experience where he could focus on their projects without the interruptions of a traditional tattoo studio. He has taken 30 plus years of being a tattoo artist around the globe, combined with his own experience of being tattooed to give his clients a uniquely fun and personal experience. Tim is an award-winning tattoo artist and has been featured in numerous publications. He has tattooed numerous celebrities, from Guns N' Roses to Steve-O. His crew of artists himself want to give you the best tattoo experience possible. Tim, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Tim, first, let's pour us a couple of drinks real fast.
Okay.
So there's your glass right there.
Oh, yeah, yes.
I'll go with this one first. Just pick which one you want.
Yeah, we'll start off slow.
Yeah. So for those of you who know me, the last 2 years, I've gone on like my wife calls a middle-age tattoo crisis. So I have like maybe 45 tattoos. Tim's done like maybe 25 or 30 of them.
Yeah, you're at the shop almost weekly. So
yes, I know, right? Hopefully my wife not listen to that part right
there. Well, maybe not every week, but you know.
Yeah. So we talk about tattoos. You also do DJ on the side, right?
Yeah, that was my middle-age crisis. You got into tattooing, I got into DJing. I should have just bought a Corvette instead, been done with it. But I started going to parties maybe 10, 15 years ago, and really had no understanding of the culture of electronic dance music.
So you do
and stuff like that.
Is it just uniquely electronic? Or you do other kinds of music?
No, it's mostly techno and house music. Okay. You know, I used to make fun of those people in high school, and now I've become one of them. But I love it. After hurting people all day, it's kind of fun to cut loose and make people have fun, dance around, throw a party.
So first, cheers.
Oh, yes, cheers.
So I'm guessing you've upgraded your equipment through the years. You probably started simple. Now you have like all this fancy.
Oh yeah, I've seen tattooing, especially right now.
As far as DJing.
Oh, we were talking about DJing equipment. Oh yeah, I came in a little bit late into DJing. I wasn't one of those started off carrying crates of records around. I started off with like CDs. I wanted to learn without the use of a computer and things like that, and kind of progress my way up. I've had some pretty good teachers along the way, and mostly self-taught. That's about the only, if you sit long enough with the equipment, eventually you'll figure out how to use it.
As far as DJing, do you have like any gigs you do on a regular basis?
I do a monthly event in Tacoma at a bar called the New Frontier Lounge. Some friends of mine know, and they give me one Saturday a month to book the lineups and the DJs and stuff like that. And what I've been trying to do is bring some of the talent from here in Seattle down to Tacoma once a month. People in Tacoma love to go out and go to Seattle and hear music, but that drive back at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning can be not very fun, or very dangerous, or if you're drinking and
all the
doing
state
other
troopers
things
out there.
Yeah, and so
and transportation doesn't go to 2 or 3 in the morning, public transportation.
And as Tacoma is growing, a lot of people are moving down from Seattle. And so when they see that like a headlining DJ in Seattle is coming down to Tacoma, it gives them a chance to come out and experience Tacoma. We have a really good electronic dance community scene there with a lot of really good DJs and people that are trying to build a community in Tacoma.
What's the biggest crowd you've played in so far?
Burning Man.
Burning Man. Oh,
yeah. I've played to some pretty large crowds there. Some friends of mine, we built some art cars that look like the Pac-Man ghosts and drive them around Burning Man. And a lot of people know of these cars. And probably one of the biggest shows I played was under this crazy bridge that somebody brought out there and built. And there were probably a couple thousand people there. So it was pretty fun.
So how did you get that gig? You got paid for it?
No, I just
started playing?
They asked us to come play under their bridge, so we drug all of our equipment out there and set up a party, and it was fun.
Nice. So from your point of view, what makes someone a good DJ? Is it like listening to the crowd, or like music selection, or?
I think all of it. I think, just their enthusiasm, what they're trying to you're trying to tell a story to the crowd through your music. And you know, sometimes you'll play a song, you're like, yeah, this one's gonna hit, and it's like crickets on the dance floor. You're like, so you gotta be able to kind of read the crowd a little bit and, you know, play to the room. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't claim to be a know-it-all or anything about it. I just do it, whatever makes me happy. I just want to have fun.
You have a go-to song?
No, not really.
No.
There's a few producers out there that I like their style of music and stuff. And yeah, with DJing, to me, it feels like I'm almost playing with like musical Legos, because you're kind of stacking things and borrowing bits from other songs and kind of mixing them together to kind of create your own sound.
Electronic music, that's totally different from house music, right?
House music is electronic music.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Germany, that's a real popular, always like, it was like that boom, boom.
Yeah, that's
boom.
It's called the 4/4 beat. It's at 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's not a good thing.
Techno and house have they have a 4/4 beat,
Yeah,
and that's why it's easy to mix, because it all lines up mathematically.
I don't know. Sometimes that beat is like too heavy, like you've been drinking all night long. Like, you know, like,
Germany, they tend to like techno a little bit more, a little bit harder, a little darker. Which is it's my go-to as far as like, if I had a choice to play the music that I want to play, it's techno. But sometimes that music can be a little fast, heavy, and dark for people that are just out on a Saturday night that just want to dance and have some drinks and have a good time. So you gotta, you know, set and setting for where and what you're gonna play.
But electronic music, do you see like certain generations like it more than others? Like, is it more generation music?
I just see it getting more and more popular. It's just, you know, I've gone and worked some festivals. There's a festival in Las Vegas called the Electric Daisy Carnival, and the art cards that we built for Burning Man in 2014, we met with the creative directors from one of the largest festival companies in the world, Insomniac, and they hired us to take our art cars to their festivals. And they put on a 3-day festival in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Speedway, where every night over 100,000 fans go to this festival. They've got 7 or 8 mega stages. The production is like unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Fireworks and lasers and all kinds of stuff. So it was pretty cool being able to get paid to go party and see, you know, I've met every one of my favorite DJs and having like full access to this festival aside from just being a spectator. So
here's one for you. Can a DJ be too fucked up or too drunk or too high to actually be a good DJ?
That might make him better. Who knows? It all just depends. And the DJ, I fly straight. You don't want to be, you know, a slobbering mess up there.
Yeah. So how do most DJs get paid? Is that per gig, or like number of people come in, or just depends? It depends.
You work out sometimes you work out a deal with the establishment, you know, if you're charging a cover, or sometimes, you know, the DJs can get a percentage of the bar take of the night, you know, it's all whatever. Sometimes, most of the time I work for free just because I like doing it. So
do you have like a dream gig you want to do, like some big club in Las Vegas or New York City?
No, I like playing with my friends. I'd rather play in my backyard, barbecue, and hang out. Like I don't have any aspirations to be some superstar. Nobody wants to come see, you know, some 50-year-old DJ, some old guy.
Because I think I saw one time you posted on your Instagram, like you did a DJ gig at some beach house.
Oh yeah, we drag our stuff down to Titlow Beach in Tacoma sometimes in the summertime, because it's a nice place to watch the sunset on the water in Tacoma. You can't go down to Ruston because it's facing the wrong direction, and we'll take some generators and our DJ stuff and throw little pop-up parties. Those are fun too, because especially people that just happen to be down there. And again, we're playing like music that fits the environment. You know, we're not going down there and playing some, you know, high BPM EDM music. You know, you're playing something that's kind of chill that goes against the setting of something you would want to hear during a sunset. So it's pretty fun.
So you DJ once a month at that place. Any plans like do it once a week or?
No, I mean, it because of my schedule of tattooing that comes first, and so the DJ thing, it's just for me, it's just a hobby. And so I'd rather just do one really good show a month instead of trying to spread myself too thin, because the nights that I have to do that, I'm also like my own roadie. I have to stay until the end. I have to load up all the gear, and by the time I get home, I'm just completely exhausted and you know, and tattooing full time. And when I'm not tattooing, I'm having to draw and get my tattoos ready for the upcoming days and weeks ahead of me. So there's a lot of work that I do when I'm not at work.
Yeah.
So
So what's the longest you like DJ like for hours, like 2 hours at a time, 3 hours at a time?
typical set's about an hour, but sometimes a little bit longer. Just depends on how many people are playing or what the goal is for the night. Sometimes me and my friends we'll go play each, half hour, take turns, trade off. Sometimes you can play back to back where, you'll play a song or a track or two, and then your buddy will play a track or two and stuff like that. So it's fun. There's really no like rules to what you're doing.
Okay.
There's no, one set thing. So
next, let's talk about Burning Man. And so I don't think a lot of people know what Burning Man is. Like they have no clue what it is.
You can really even say what it is.
That's true.
Man.
Can you like a quick like dummies 101 what it does?
Burning Man, it becomes like the third largest city in Nevada every year. There's about 85,000 people that convey in a little town just outside of Gerlach. It's about 80 miles north of Reno. It's on a prehistoric lake bed. It's absent of any life. Nothing grows there. There's no bugs there. It's the sand is alkaline, so everything it touches, it kind of corrodes. And so they build a city out there for 1 week, and it has an infrastructure. It has a Department of Public Works and a motor vehicle department, things like that. It's structured like a city. And then at the end of the week, they burn a big wooden man structure. And then when the thing is over, the goal is to leave no trace. That 80,000 people go out there, turn it into a city. You'll find whatever you're looking for out there. If you want to go out there and party your face off, or if you just want to go out there and read a book, you'll find somebody that you can connect with out there.
And these 80,000 people, this can't show up. Like you have to apply, pay money.
Yeah, you have to buy a
process,
ticket,
right?
but you have to bring all of your stuff into the desert, and you have to cart all of your stuff out, all of your food, your trash, your gray water. They don't sell anything there but ice. That's the only thing.
How long does it
there.
last?
It's 7 days.
Okay, so basically you got to be self-sufficient for 7 days.
Yes, but when I go with a camp of about 40 people. So we all have jobs and we all work together to have our camp, to have the things that we need to get us through the week and stuff.
And how long you been going?
2013 was the first year I went.
Okay, so what made you want to go to it in the first place?
Just hearing stories about it, seeing pictures. I heard about it in the early 90s. I was living in the Bay Area. I was getting tattooed in San Francisco, and one of my friends was like trying to tell me about it. It's like, oh, it's just I don't know, hippie fest thing in the desert where there's no rules and you got to bring all your stuff in. And the young me, I was like, that sounds stupid. I don't want to do that. And as I started kind of coming around a little bit more of the electronic music scene and music festivals and stuff like that, seeing pictures of it, and I just wanted to experience it. The first time I went, I just wanted to do it just to see if I could do it. It will definitely test you on all your senses. You love it, like throughout the week, you love it, you hate it, you don't know if you're going to make your way through that week. You're sitting there and there's a sandstorm going for 8 hours and you can't see your hand in front of your face and you're like, why am I here? But then there's other times where I'm standing next to Paris Hilton and you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. So it's
And do they like bring a live entertainment or stuff like that?
There's hundreds of stages and entertainments. There's bands, there's DJs, there's some of the most amazing art. There's these things, the art cars that people drive around. Some of these, millionaire, billionaire types, build these mega things that are like, a concert on wheels, squirting fire and lasers. And
so what's the purpose of Burning Man? Why do they do this every year? Just like bring people together and show they can do community in the middle of nowhere? Or? It
started in San Francisco with about 8 people on a beach, and it's kind of grown from there. It's there's nothing for sale there. It's a gifting community. There's some principles of Burning Man, one of them being like radical self-inclusion. They want everyone to be a part of it. Yeah, it's more than words can really describe sometimes.
You have to experience it.
Yeah, do your research on it, and there's tons of stuff you can see on YouTube. Everybody's going to have their own experience, and everybody's going to give you their own take on what it is to them.
And you actually go with your daughters too, right?
Yeah, I've gone with my daughter before twice.
That's the experience that with your daughters and stuff.
Yeah. And her mom, my daughter and my ex-wife, her mom went last year with us. So that was pretty cool for us to be able to go as a family unit.
And so like I'm guessing Burning Man, because like it has its own city. I'm sure they don't have police, but like there's like South Police and stuff going on to make sure.
Oh yeah, no, there's every branch of law enforcement in the world is there.
Okay.
Whether you see them or not, you know, there's you know, it's a kind of in a way of a counterculture movement. So I'm sure there's, you know,
so basically like,
secret undercover black vans that are out there
Yeah.
making sure that people aren't trying to overthrow the world.
yeah. So how does someone get kicked out of Burning Man? Like, what do you have to do? Like, I guess have you something really, really bad to get kicked out?
Oh, you
of
could
it?
get arrested there. I mean, having drugs,
Okay.
you know, drinking and, you know, being driving a car, you know, you could get arrested there.
Okay.
Very easily. There's,
All right.
there, it's a city. There's, you know, there's emergency services there. There's fire services there. There's police services there. It's even laid out, like a grid. There's a map of Burning Man. You get an address of where you live at Burning Man. Like you could have mail delivered at Burning Man.
What?
Like, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty intensive.
Yeah.
What's the closest big city to it?
Reno.
Reno. Okay. I don't know what are the people like that era think about the people come every year, right? Like, is the?
I think the community that you drive through Gerlach, man, they have a very beautiful high school there. They have a nice feel for their stuff. So
I'm pretty sure they make money off all the people going to.
Well, yeah, and there's so much space out there in Nevada that people store stuff there year round. So they'll come out there. People go out to the playa like months before to set it up, and people stay there months after to make sure everything's cleaned up. And there's a perimeter around it called the trash fence to try and catch, you know, things that blow, you know, garbage. I mean, we pick up every little piece of lint. You know, bottle cap thing that you could, you know, we scour our camp completely. And then at the, you know, months later, you actually get a report back from Burning Man where they go through and inspect the entire grounds, and you get what's called the MOOP report, and it will show you if you left things there. And if you leave too much to get a bad report, you may not get your camp placement back the following year.
I'm guessing the longer you go to Burning Man, the better your camp placement is.
I don't know how that all works because that's all taken care of by somebody else in my camp. I just get my ticket through my camp and they just tell us where to go. Our in order to get camp placement, your camp has to provide something, I believe, to Burning Man. And what we provide is we do shoe repair. We have a cobbler.
Oh, wow.
And you would be surprised of how many people's shoes malfunction there, or people only bring one pair of shoes, or the sole just happens to fall out. Things just randomly break when you're at Burning Man.
That's a good point. Do they give you like a packing list, like a recommended packing list, like bring goggles?
Oh yeah. There's plenty of literature online. You can find thousands of web pages.
Because I'm guessing
hashtag Burning Man, and you'll pull up 80 million pictures of it. Huh?
I'm guessing someone probably goes there. Oh, I'll just take it's hot. I'll just bring sandals, right? Like, yeah. You should have put a Burning Man video on YouTube. You could have you could see what it looks like. And so how do you plan on going to Burning Man, like as long as you can?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Last year was a rough one for me.
Was
it? It was extremely hot. It was extremely windy. It kind of kicked my ass. So I don't know. I do have tickets to go this year. I have not made up my mind if I go. If I do not go, I will sell my tickets to somebody in my camp. So
actually, let me pull up a Burning Man.
Yeah, pull it up. There's tons of them. Just type in Burning Man 2022. That'll be from last year.
So that's the Burning Man thing right there.
Yeah, that's the actual man that they burned. And like, there's, you know, those are art cars. There's just massive. It's just crazy all the stuff that people bring out to this.
There's only 7 days a year.
Mm-hmm. This is the night of the burn. They bring all the art cars around it and they light it on fire.
And I'm guessing like people, all type of backgrounds come here, like businessmen. Like
there's everything. Every walk of life.
That dude's butt ass naked around there.
Oh yeah, no, there's plenty of naked people there. Like I said, whatever you, it's not exactly lawless, but it's, you know, it's kind of like you could have the most. It's like absolute freedom, really. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna judge you, really. I mean, what do you look at somebody and be like, that's weird? Look around the whole thing, you know.
What do you get? What do you find the most fun about it?
That I don't have to be at work.
Yeah.
My phone does. Your phones don't work out there, so
Uh-huh.
you're completely cut off from civilization.
So there's no like selfies going on, nothing like
No,
that.
you can have your phone, but there's no service. There's like
Okay.
I can't get a text or a phone call while I'm out
Mhm.
there because there's not enough cell phone towers. And when you got 90,000 people out there, it clogs up whatever, however that stuff works. But
Yeah. I was like, this is like a good fun time, but the military spent all the time in the desert I did. I don't know about spending 7 days in the desert, to be honest with
yeah,
you.
but you're around all, people having fun. It's not.
That
I
looks
mean, you
fun up
probably
there.
have the training to survive the desert for a week.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be
Oh,
a
yeah.
piece of
That
cake.
would be a piece of cake.
Because
Yeah.
the first time I went, that was the first thing I thought. It was like all of my friends who were veterans and soldiers, like this is what they did for years out in Iraq and Afghanistan without the partying.
Yeah.
But even after that first week, man, that I couldn't wait to have a shower and just a little, I was so gross smelling, even though I tried to shower and stay clean. It's like impossible.
So that person, what's the youngest person you've seen at Running Man?
I've seen babies there.
Have
I don't
you?
know why people bring their baby
I
there,
don't know
but
about that either.
there was a pretty famous picture of a baby at Burning Man that was standing by our art car, and I think it was on like USA Today or something. And there was actually there's a little Sasquatch picture of me in the background of that photo. I was like, this is a trip. But people are born there, people die there. Someone dies there every year.
So what do they do with all this artwork? They just
Some of it they
down?
burn, some of it's burnt, and then some of it's like any of these big wooden
That dude, he
structures.
looks hot as fuck. There's no way I could do that. Like he's on drugs or something. Ain't no fucking way. Big pink ass bunny suit.
You're supposed to ride around on a bicycle there, but last year, there was a lot of e-bikes. I looked at the Thunderdome, like from Mad Max. You could go battle. There's all the bars are free. You go drink for free. You have to bring your own cup.
Okay. I mean, that's
You could eat for free.
reasonable.
You got to bring your own plate and spoon. There's nothing provided. Nobody's going to give you a plastic fork or the thing. If you notice, there's no garbage cans. No. Everybody.
So you say everyone has to do something for the community, right? Like,
No, you don't have to.
Like you do cobbler shoes, like
that. That's what our camp does. That's what our camp does to get placement through the Burning Man organization. Okay. I mean, you can just show up and find it. As long, if you're not part of a camp, or say you just want to show up, you can just show up and find a blank space of land and plant your flag, and that's where you camp. Some of the spaces are reserved for the camps, but when you get there, everything's kind of like laid out and stuff like that.
So do you get any sleep during these 7 days?
Oh yeah, 2 of the nights I was asleep by 11 p.m. I'm an early person. I'm not a late night person.
I'm pretty sure people got married here too.
Oh yeah, people get married there.
It's like a wild experience.
Yeah, it's an assault on all of your senses. Make sure I don't pull up your Pornhub video. Right? This looks like some fancy DJ gear right here. You got all these buttons and. I like to project stuff like this when I'm doing my DJ sets too. Sometimes especially at the tattoo shop, because the walls are all white. I've got a couple of projectors, so it's fun to put that stuff on the walls.
So, besides going to Burning Man every day, is there anything special you want to do? Like, do you ever want to do a tattoo there? Like, do a DJ thing there, or?
Yeah, I have done the DJ things there, which was fun. Last year I took my stuff, but by the time I got there, I didn't really do much DJing because I was tired. I was just like, I don't want to I don't want to unpack all of my stuff.
That's like a what?
So I tripped over it for a whole week in my trailer. I'm like,
that's like a 14-hour drive, right?
Yeah, it's about 15.
Okay.
I usually I put up into like a day and a half. The first I typically will leave Tacoma on Saturday morning, and I'll try and get down to a place called Albuquerque, California. And you're only a couple out, like 2 or 3 hours away from the front gate of Burning Man. Okay. So I can get a hotel, get a nice meal, get a good night's sleep, shower, all that stuff. Stop off at the last fuel stop before going in, fill up my gas cans, things like that for my generators.
I'm surprised they don't have showers there, honestly, because those all kind of like,
they're there, but you got to bring your own.
Yeah.
I brought a solar shower.
Yeah.
We have a like a kiddie pool that we use for like an evap station, because you can't even pour your water on the ground there. They don't want that to damage they don't want it to damage the ground at all. You want to leave no trace, and you can't be throwing like black water with like soap and things like that.
Yeah.
If you got 80,000 people just dumping that stuff on the
That's a good
ground,
point.
it's gonna kind of pollute the area and
That's a good
stuff like
point.
that. So you have to do a little bit of forward thinking of the things you're gonna take out there. Even the food and stuff that I pack, I make sure I take all the packaging and extra garbage and things like that, because you can't just go throw
So
your garbage
let's
away.
suppose that you threw like a gallon of dirty water on the ground. Does someone come and say,
You
hey,
could get fined by the Department of Public Works there.
okay. So
Because they go around and inspect
Okay.
like one year at Burning Man, we had an RV that was its freshwater tank was leaking on the ground, and they came over and raised holy hell
Okay.
and wanted us to dig the dirt out and take it with us and stuff like that, because they didn't know if it was freshwater, gray water, black water, but like there's people that walk around and inspect the camps and things like that to make sure people aren't.
So you've been going since 2013. Every you go back, do you hang out with the same people? Do you link
Yeah,
up?
I mean, I have kind of like a core group of people from most of them are from Tacoma, but we've got people from all over the place in our camp and stuff. And every year you make more friends, and the more it's obviously the more you do it, the more people that will do it. And not everybody goes every year, so sometimes I have a cousin that lives in Manchester, England, and she flies all the way over, and I have some other friends that live down in Mexico that come up. So when they're coming in from another country, you have to kind of help them facilitate to do all of that stuff. So it's kind of fun being able to help some of my friends and family experience it as well. Whereas it, like, if you were just coming over from England, like trying to get all the camping gear and get all the stuff, it would be really, really difficult if you didn't have help on this side of in the country.
So I'm guessing most of the people you meet at Burning Man, like really great people, have a fun time with them. I'm guessing you meet like very few jackasses or assholes.
I've met a couple of jackasses.
Yeah.
There's always a few. Especially the first couple of days, everybody's, their endorphins are all kicking in, because it's a lot of work to get there. You basically waste your whole summer planning for this 1 week. Everything, I got to do this for Burning Man. I got to do this for Burning Man. I got to do this for Burning Man. At least that's how it was for me last year, and then packing and repacking and making sure you have it. Then you got to make sure your vehicle's in working order, because I've had mechanical issues on the way down there. One of my friends hit a deer on the way down there one year. Like, you're going through the woods, it's like every step of the way to get there is just a challenge. And then while you're there, it's a challenge throughout the week. And then you have to drive home after you're just completely dehydrated, you're completely wrecked, you've sunburnt, everything else, and now you got to drive home 15 hours if you're pulling a trailer or things like that. So it's a lot of work. And then you need another week after you get back just to put your head on straight, to decompress, to go back into the real world, because you've been in this like magical universe for a week where you don't need money and things like that. And all of a sudden you're like, you walk into the store and you're like, oh shit, I need money to buy this thing I need.
In Burning Man, it's like 24/7.
Yeah,
something always going on.
Oh yeah.
So like, from your time there, is it better like do the stuff that are daytime or the nighttime?
Some people are day burners, some people are night burners.
Okay.
Like, it just depends. I mean, I like the desert in the morning. I love watching the sun, like getting up early and watching the sunrise. I don't like to stay up all night and watch the sunrise, because I just can't handle that. So I like to go to every night and get up, especially when it's nice and cool out in the desert before it gets too hot. It's just quiet and
so with all the stuff going on, the music, the noise, like, I guess you have to really, really be tired to go to sleep, right?
Yeah, I get earplugs. Or,
noise canceling headphones or something.
Yeah, have whiskey, that'll help you sleep. You get through it somehow.
Yeah, you suffer through. Yeah, I might have to go with you one day. That's not a good time. Another bucket list thing to do. So next, let's talk about psychedelics. So so psychedelics, of course, it's illegal in most places. And the one thing, like, I'll tell people, like, I can't speak for all military veterans, but pretty much every military veteran I know is either like doing marijuana, mushrooms, or LSD, right? For mental health, depression, stuff like that, right?
We can take it because it's fun too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's another two things too, right? And like, psychedelics is like, it had its own negativity back in the day, right? President Nixon made a Schedule 1, that kind of stuff. And it's like it's making a comeback now, right?
Well, I mean, as a teenager, I mean, I loved acid. Like, I was never a pothead. I've never fucked around with pills or I've known enough people in my life to know what drugs to take, what drugs like not to take. And I especially being an artist, when I discovered psychedelics, I drew on those experiences to help me create art and things like that. For me, it was like inspiration. It was just kind of like being able to, watch the trees wiggle and things like that. And doing it when you're 16, you're just your main purpose is not to get caught by your parents. So I don't know if you really can fully like enjoy it then. I remember just being in my bedroom, being up all night on acid, and every little noise would be like, oh no, my mom, she knows, like, and I'm glad to see that, our society is coming around, at least being at least open to the thought of it. I mean, these things have been around our societies and tribes for thousands and thousands of years. Like, and there I definitely believe that there's good that can come from it. It's plant medicine.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many people are on the side of psychedelics you never thought would be on their side. Like, most people on this. So I'm from Texas. Texas pretty conservative. Last 4 years, the Texas State House has given like $5 million for the psychedelic research for veterans. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry, who he put like ultra conservative, he's a big psychedelic supporter, right? Like, if you said back in the day Rick Perry would support psychedelics, like, you're lying, right? But he's a big supporter. It's amazing how many people on the both sides of the political spectrum are like, oh no, there's something for. At least we got to study what it does, right?
Well, at least it mushrooms have been around for thousands of years. You might end up naked on YouTube if you take too many of them, but you're not going to die. Like, certain pharmaceutical drugs, and things like that.
There's no way to overdose on psychedelics.
Side effects of marijuana might be you might eat too much Taco Bell or something like that. Or
I mean, the stories of this. If you drink a bottle of Jack Daniels, you're gonna start a fight. If you smoke a pound of weed, you're just gonna eat a pound of Doritos.
Yeah. And especially when you're on psychedelics, your one goal is not to get hurt. It's like, get hurt.
Yeah, some things like you definitely don't want to drive. Probably don't be on a high-rise apartment building.
Yeah. Or thought of like going to the hospital or something on a psychedelic would be a very horrible experience. So you just want to, setting, be safe.
Now, do you have a preference for like LSD or mushrooms?
Oh, I can't either one of them. I don't have the time dedicated to them.
It is pretty much a day.
I've microdosed mushrooms, which were cool. The last time I took acid was like years ago. I was down in Mexico, and it was just one of those. Me and my one of my best friends were down there. We're down in Tulum, and I had to hit leftover hit acid from. I don't even remember where I got it from. We were like, hey man, let's this, and we took it, and it was like the most profound experience I ever had. It was like 20 hours of like astonishment. So after that, I was like, I think I'm good for a while. Like, you hear the story of like Steve Jobs went down to, Mexico, took acid and did what he did, so it was, I felt like I was on The Simpsons or something. I was walking along the beach and just watching the clouds like bend in half.
Yeah. You definitely see a lot of interesting things doing that stuff.
I mean, it'd be nice to see it legal and decriminalized, so that way at least people who want to experience it can have access to it, and it can be safe. I mean,
I'd much rather have someone take LSD or mushroom than buy some cocaine and fentanyl off the street.
Oh God, yeah.
You have no idea what you get into. So do you still do mushrooms?
No, not really.
Not really.
Again, it's like, maybe at a music festival or something like that. It has to be the right place and time.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's not like Wednesday afternoon. I just got home from work. Oh, take some mushrooms.
Yeah. Can't believe, man. I had a hard day at work drinking beer. I'll take some acid.
And mushrooms are always one of those things that, like, as soon as I take them and they kick in, I feel gross. I'm like, oh, why did that sounded more fun than this was. So they always just kind of remind me that I don't really like them that much.
Yeah.
Other than the microdose, I mean, when you microdose them, you don't feel them, but you just kind of feel happy.
I know that's a big thing. Like, people don't realize a lot of entrepreneurs do microdosing, right? Because you take like 1/10 of a dose every 4 days, and like it really like focuses you, right? At least I've been seeing, right? It focuses you. You got I know a lot of others do that. So microdose is a big thing. And so another thing you do, I can never say the word. It's where you get, it's a ayahuasca, something like that.
Ayahuasca.
I can never say that fucking word.
Ayahuasca.
How is that?
It's interesting.
Yeah. And that's a whole weekend thing, right?
Yeah, It's a brew that's made from 2 different plants out of the Amazon that you drink, and the Kaban's maybe about the first hour. It's kind of a slow come on.
And so what's the purpose of doing that? Is like to enlighten your mind or free you from mental stress, or what do people usually do that ceremony?
I turned to it to use it as medicine. Like I wasn't trying to take it as oh, it's Friday night, let's drink some ayahuasca. Like, we all have our traumas, we all have our things, and as humans that we we try and work out and work through. And for me, I've only done 2 ceremonies, but it's I think it had a profound effect on me. But I got out of it what I was kind of searching for. Yeah, you just get to really just connect with yourself in ways that you wouldn't normally be able to. I don't know. It just kind of it's hard. It's one of those things that's hard to explain.
So don't get the details, but like how does one find a person to do this, right? I mean, I'm sure you just can't Google, like you have.
There are churches.
Is it okay?
There are churches in America that you can be part of and
know that.
and take it as a ceremony. Yeah.
Okay.
Because of under the Freedom of Religion Act, because it's.
Oh wow, that's a good point. Yeah. So you plan on doing it again, or you're done with it too?
I don't know. It's I haven't put much thought into it.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those. I did it. I got out what I needed out of it. I feel like if you're one of those people that tries to do it every weekend, then you're maybe not.
Yeah.
You're maybe not. You're kind of defeating the purpose of that. Those people. It's like, well, it's not addictive, but I've done it 300 times. It's like
I do it every day. Yeah.
I
know, like taking LSD, like I know you shouldn't take it every day because the tolerance builds up, and then like, what can you really get out of taking it every day, right? I always read that.
Yeah, and I mean, when you drink ayahuasca, you're gonna at some point you're gonna purge. You're gonna puke your guts out. You're gonna shit your guts out. Like it's your body just cleansing itself. You have to follow a specific diet. It's you have a shaman that hosts the ceremony that guides you through everything and through song and music, and sometimes there's some chanting, the group activity and stuff like that.
And these people you never met before in your life, like
no.
Okay.
I mean, I've done it with people that I know, but I've also done it with strangers who become your friends after you have this bonding experience through all of that stuff.
How many people is like a 10-person thing, or
there's some, I don't know. There's some, I guess it just depends on how the person who's ever facilitating it. I mean, there's some people out there that try and do it they're solely to make money. You know what I mean? And try and exploit all that, especially with this stuff getting popular. Again, you can go on YouTube and just see all these people that you can see they're probably charging these people way too much money for what they're getting out of it. I don't know. It's
that'd be my fear. Like, how do you pick the right person to know they're doing the right thing, not ripping you off? I would be afraid to go down down in Peru and not have some sort of contact down there, because there's a lot of people that, like anything, they're going to try and take advantage. Here comes some dumbass American,
type of thing.
Yeah. I think psychedelics is a good thing, right? If you use correctly, right? And I know there's definitely been a lot of research about mental health and depression and stuff like that. I know a lot of military veterans, they put on all these pills, right? Didn't help, and they do on their own, do psychedelics. What do you want to call it? Like they have a lot more.
And especially if it can help you guys out. I mean, I know a lot of my friends have been through way tougher stuff than I've ever seen in my life, and trying to process that, especially when people are so young and going into the military. I've not been in the military, so I can't really speak of some of that stuff, but I just know I've had friends that have a lot. They have struggles because of their times in the military.
I just like the way it opens your eyes to see the world in different ways, right? You see some crazy stuff.
No, one of the things that I like about psychedelics is it creates empathy. Like you have more feelings for people in the world and things like that around you. I think, we lose touch in all of that. We all live in our own little box and our own little squares, and we're all isolated and things like that. And
and you see how things operate and things do, how everything's designed. And one thing, when I take it, I just notice how much cars are not a part of nature, right? Whenever you see a car go by, you can hear the noise and the pollution coming out the car, right? It's craziness. And on one time I was on it, and my wife, we have about a bunch of spiders on our porch, and my wife always knocks the spiders down. So one time I was on the front porch, right? And the spotter said, "Hey, Mr. Jason, can you tell your wife to stop killing my house?" Right? What? Yeah, it's very interesting, right? But it's a fun time, right? Yeah. Will be ever legalized? I don't know. I know there's a association called MAPS. I can't remember what it stands for. Something for study of psychedelics. And they've been over since 1986. They're trying to get it legalized and stuff. But I don't know if it would be legalized, but they just need to keep on doing research, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've done my experimentation with it, but it's just like, again, at this stage of my life, I've got so much going on that
Yeah, because it does. You just can't take it. You can't be like, I'm gonna drink a beer, take a hit. You're like, you almost got to set a whole day.
But I think
aside.
if people want to experience that, they should have the right to do it. I've never felt that any type of psychedelic experience should be criminalized or put you in jail because you're wanting to, expand your consciousness. Yeah,
exactly right. Cool. So we'll come back to this in a minute. So next, let's talk about your tattoo business real fast.
Yeah, that I can talk a lot about.
Yeah.
I'm not as deep into the psychedelics as I am tattooing, but
yeah. So tattooing. So first, a lot of people don't realize you're a tattoo artist, right? Own a tattoo shop. You're also an entrepreneur, right? Can you talk about the challenge, like, doing your art stuff versus also making sure your business makes money? That's the hardest part. I have to create art every day in order to make my business survive. I have to be creative every day. I have to be on point. You're not allowed to have a bad day as a tattoo artist. And so you're trying to take people's ideas and turn them into something and put them on there so that way they can come get tattooed, enjoy what you do, and in return I can generate revenue to pay my rent and keep my business going. I do feel like I have an amazing job because I have been fortunate enough to make my life off of making art and putting it on people. I started tattooing, I was 17 years old. So I started in 1989. So it's been a long time. I was in high school. I kind of a funny story going back to psychedelics. I went over to this guy's house to buy some acid. And when I went over to his house, I was about 16 years old. In his kitchen, there was a little makeshift tattoo set up. And I asked my buddy, I was like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And he's like, "Oh, this guy's over here is doing tattoos." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just ran to the store to get something." And I, at this time, when I was about 16, I was a punk rocker. I had a mohawk. My parents were super cool about it. New Mexico, yeah, I was living in Albuquerque. And my parents were super cool about it. But my mother, she's from New York. So when she talks like this, she's very brash. And the line in the sand for her was, I wanted my ear pierced for some dumb reason, And so every day, I'd come to and from school, I'd be taking this stupid earring in and out of my ear. My ear was all crusty and red. And my mom would be like, "Take that shit out of your ear. You look fucking stupid." And so when I came across the tattoo section of it, when I discovered tattooing, I was like, "Oh, this will really piss her off because there's no fucking way she's going to make me take off this tattoo." I felt, like Bart Simpson before there were the Simpsons, and so I was just like, "Sign me up." And so I got a Rocky the Flying Squirrel on my arm. And the reason why I picked that was I remember earlier that week, I was standing in like the lunch line in high school, and like one of the football players had like a Tasmanian devil with boxing gloves on tattooed on his arm. And I thought it was fucking stupid. And so I was just like, "Well, I'll get Rocky the Flying Squirrel." It's still kind of, it's been covered up a few times, but that introduced me to tattooing. While I was sitting there getting tattooed by this guy, he had like a portfolio of his artwork. And I was like, "Oh shit. I can draw better than this guy." So, that was my theory. So you're an artist before you? Yeah, I was doing screen printing. I was doing like linoleum printing. I had really amazing art teachers. And were you like a self-taught artist? Yeah, when I was a kid, they wanted me to play football, but I wanted to draw pictures. Like I've always kind of just like operated on my own frequencies of stuff. I've never been into like the normal shit that people around me were into. I just wasn't into the latest types of shoes or the most popular thing. It's just, I've been creative my whole, for as long as I've known. And so,
you know, my parents, they bought me art supplies when I was younger. They encouraged me being an artist. I was doing oil painting by that time. And in middle school and high school, I had the most amazing art teachers, even better than any professors I had in college. And so when I was getting tattooed from this guy, I was just like, you know, this is kind of cool. I want to learn more about it. And at the time there wasn't, of course, there wasn't the internet, but there wasn't a lot of literature on tattooing. There's only maybe a couple of books that were published on tattooing. So there was very, very limited information about tattooing. So the next step for me was, there was only one tattoo shop in the town that I lived in, and there was big motorcycles parked out in front of it and things like that. And so walking into my first time I walked into that tattoo shop, it was scary as fuck. You know, it was
and you were like 17 at the time?
Yeah. I walked in there and I was like, hey, I want to learn how to tattoo. And they're like, you don't, get the fuck out of here. and you know, and so I get thrown out of this tattoo shop. Like one time I went in there, I was like, what kind of black ink do you guys use? Like, get the fuck out of here. And so the guy who did my first tattoo, he had like this makeshift homemade fucking, basically like a prison style tattoo machine, because living in New Mexico, everybody had that uncle or their cousin that just got out of the pinta, bro, and I'll show you how to make a gun. And so I made some janky ass homemade tattoo machine, and a friend of mine came over one Saturday night and asked me to do a tattoo on him, and I did a Tasmanian devil on him, and I fucked it all up. And he went back to school, and the next day, like, my phone started ringing off the hook.
And that's when you knew you want to be a tattoo artist.
That was where that's just kind of like where it was starting. And
like you were like, I can make money off this.
I wasn't even making money off it. For me, it was just a different medium. It was just another form of making art. It was the thought of having a job that I didn't have to go to work until noon and people were going to pay me money for. It was far from my tattooing. It was so underground then. It wasn't like walking into Walgreens now and seeing someone with half their face tattooed. It was like, if you had a tattoo, people like they'd stop and kind of stare at you at a restaurant or things like that. Yeah,
just got out of prison or
something, you know, or they either I got my sleeves done in my 20s, and people always thought I was in a band. I'd go to a restaurant, hey, you guys in a band? That was the most question that was asked every time I went somewhere. And so I knew, I was doing these janky little homemade tattoos, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I ran into a guy who had a black and gray single needle portrait done, and it was like a moment of epiphany for me. Like time stood still, and it didn't even look like a needle had broken. It looked like something that was airbrushed on the skin. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do tattoos like that. And so that kind of put me on my path, because I didn't even know things like that could even
How did your mom react when you told her that?
Well, that's the funnier thing, because my mom beat the shit out of me when I woke up that third day with the tattoo. But then she came home. I was like 2 hours or 3 hours early from work one day. I'm at the dining room table. I'm carving up one of the kids from down the street. My buddy's cleaning a sack of weed. You know, my other friend's drinking a beer. We're all acting like grown-ups. And my mom walks in and she's like, what the hell are you doing? You're going to get AIDS. You're going to die. Like, this was 1989. Like, people were dying from AIDS. And, here I am, bloody kid, and then 2 days later, their parents would call screaming at me, what your son did to my son? Or I'd go to pick up a girl for a date, and she'd tell her parents that I did tattoos, and she'd go to her room to get her purse or something, and the dad would like fucking grab me by my throat, and she comes home with a fucking tattoo, I'll fucking kill you. And we'd be going to the movies, I want to get a tattoo from you. I'd be like, I don't know, I don't think that's such a good idea. Your dad's a cop.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so that was about when I was about 17. And I knew at some point I needed an apprenticeship. And so I had kept going into this shop in Albuquerque. It's still there. The name of the studio is Route 66 Fine Line Tattoo. It's owned by a man named Brian Everett. He was a pioneer in portrait black and gray tattooing. Still is an amazing person who I still look up to. He was like a stepdad to me. I learned a lot from that man. And but they used to, like I said, they used to just throw me out of the shop all the time when I went in there. And so one morning, his associate was at a breakfast restaurant, and I saw him sitting at a table having his breakfast, and I literally cornered him, and I was like, look, dude, I want to learn how to fucking do this. How do I do this? And he's like spitting egg all over me and shit. He's like, yeah, you gotta go fucking get an apprenticeship, fucking, but I'm not going to do it. You're going to have to leave the state, because there was only the one tattoo shop in Albuquerque at the time. This was in 1992. And I was doing like construction and shit like that, and just out of high school, and I knew that I wanted to do tattooing. And so I sat down. I didn't even have a map. I opened up the phone book because I had the area codes on there. I'm like, well, where the fuck do I want to go? And I was like, I don't want to go to Texas. I don't want to go to Arizona. I don't know, Utah. I was like, Denver. And so like a week later, I popped in my car and drove up I-25 and went to Denver and just started knocking on doors. And I walked into the shop in Denver who happened to be friends with the people in Albuquerque. And so while I was in there kind of hitting them up for an apprenticeship, they were calling down in Albuquerque like, hey man, this guy's down here kind of dropping your name. Like, what the fuck? And the tattoo shops back then, they all knew one another because tattoo is very small. You know, you coming in there like, hey man, and so-and-so sent me up here. You know what I mean? They're going to check that shit. They're going to check your references. And, you know, they did, they gave me my shot. And then years later, I was at a tattoo convention and I ran into Brian and Cap, and I walked up to him and I thanked them, and they kind of blew them away because I actually did what they told me to do. I went out and I did it, and then I went back and I thanked them. And then so about 1996, there was a position that opened in that company, and I was living in the Bay Area at the time, and that owner called me up middle of the night, offered me a job. And so it was kind of like, it was like getting like asked to be picked up into the, up into the big leagues. I couldn't go back to sleep that night. I was so excited to go from a shop that I used to get thrown out of to now they're asking me to come work for them. And this shop at the time was a highly published studio because there was tattoo magazine stuff back then, over the internet or Instagram, things like that. So you got your exposure through printed magazines. And so this shop always was in press and had a lot of stuff. People would fly in from all over the world to get tattooed at the shop. So it was kind of cool going from this little, kitchen scratcher to working at one of the best shops in the country at the time. And it was a cool feeling.
So how did your own apprenticeship experience affect you when you bring on apprenticeships or people apprentices for you?
What do you mean?
Like, how do you experience, like, you went through getting an apprenticeship out, getting rejected, get the fuck out of your kid, and finally getting one? How does that affect when you bring someone on? Oh,
I don't even know. I've only apprenticed just a couple of people, so it's everybody has kind of like their own, story in tattooing.
Okay. And so, as far as being a tattoo artist, like, I know some people only do color, some people only do black and white. Like, why is that? Like, to me, it seems like, if someone, like, if I go to a tattoo artist, hey, I want to do this tattoo. Oh, I only do elephants, right? It is like when tattoo artists do that, they're locking themselves out of making money. Like, why do some
yes artists... or no, or they might just get people that only want elephants. Mm-hmm. So it's not. When I started tattooing, I worked it was like what's called a street shop. It's like people just walk in, you took whatever came in the door. Mm-hmm. Especially back then, you couldn't be picky. If you wanted to pay your rent, I had kids in diapers, so I learned real quick to do a lot of different styles of tattooing. But some people, they're just good at, some people are really good at pouring concrete, but they can't do electrical work. You know what I mean? Some people, so you find what works for you.
So why or when did you decide to go and start your own company?
I started Tsunami in 2000. I moved to Washington in 1998. I moved up here to raise my kids. I didn't want to raise them in Albuquerque because I grew up there.
Did you already have a tattoo job before you moved up here?
Yeah, I worked at a studio called Lucky Devil Tattoo up on Capitol Hill. It was an awesome shop. I really loved working there.
Is it still open?
No, it's not around anymore. The building's been torn down. It's some wood-fired lotto bullshit on fucking 12th Avenue. But I was living in Tacoma and I was commuting to Seattle every day, and especially when you're sitting at a tattoo shop 8-9 hours and you had a slow day and didn't make any money, it's like it's a long drive home and a rainy, dark I-5 night, when you're feeling bad about your life. And so I was like, well, if I'm gonna sit around a tattoo shop and not do anything, I might as well be 10 minutes from home. And there comes a point in your career, if you're a tattooer, some people, they want to progress. I've wanted to do everything. I tattooed, I wanted to do conventions. I wanted to be printed in magazines. I wanted to tattoo in different countries and travel around the world. And I've accomplished all of those things. And so when it came time for me to open my shop, that was just the next challenge. I had managed a shop for 6 years in Albuquerque. So I kind of had a handle on the business side of it and stuff like that. So I had a great teacher and that aspect of it. And so even before I opened the shop, I mean, I had, at least I had the basic knowledge of what I was doing and what I needed to accomplish. And I had opened several other shops with people. My other boss at one point, we had a second location. So I've seen all the different processes from beginning to end of like what you got to, the process of starting a tattoo studio. And it's just a lot of work. It was a lot of sitting there and being, I opened on 38th Street in Tacoma in October of 2000, and I didn't know a single person in Tacoma. I was working in Seattle. I lived in Tacoma, and so it was just sitting there with a sign on the road that said tattoo, you know, hoping that, you know, somebody would come in. I knew I was close to the Tacoma Mall, and we were close to Fort Lewis, so we tattooed a lot of soldiers at that shop, especially after 9/11. I was at work on 9/11. You know, the Ranger Battalion, there were years where it seemed like they just lived at the tattoo shop. Those guys were getting tattooed all the time. And
now I think you did a post on Instagram a while back, maybe pretty recently, where Army guy you tattooed 20 years ago came back.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, he was stationed here and did a couple tours in Iraq and stuff, and every time he'd come back, he'd just come in and get a bunch of tattoos. And he just happened to be back in Tacoma last week with his family, visiting some of his old Army buddies and stuff. And he came by the shop, and I actually had an old photo portfolio with those photographs in there from 20 years ago, and was able to, you know, took pictures so you can see how tattoos age. You know, I've been tattooing long enough to see what one of my tattoos looks like, you know, 20, 25, 30 years later. So
back to you moving to Washington, like, why Washington versus other places you could move
my
to?
ex-wife had some family up here.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and we were just, we wanted to get out of New Mexico.
Okay. All right. So back to the business. You start your business on 38th Street. Like, when you start your business, you had like a cash reserve, like take care of bills.
No.
you just like,
No.
I want to do it.
Dude, the first day I opened that shop, I didn't even have money to buy lunch, dude. They're not going to give you a business loan to open a tattoo shop, especially in what, 2000? Like I scraped every last cent I had. Like I went to secondhand stores to get shit. Like I knew I was going to open a shop. And so a year prior to that, I started to collect the little things, a trash bag, UB&A's the shit you got to buy to own a business. Like, you know, a chair,
and
this.
Were you the only artist?
Yeah. I started the shop by myself. I worked there by myself for about a year before I hired anybody on. You know.
And so the business starts, you're kind of struggling. What happened when you're like, okay, I'm actually going to make money.
It still hasn't happened.
No, not yet. I don't know. You're doing pretty well.
COVID's happened.
Yeah.
This has happened. It's always something, you know, everything costs money. You know, I do it because I love doing it.
Mhm.
I mean,
That's the biggest thing.
the hardest part now is I'm just getting a little bit older. So I can't do it like I used to. My body hurts, my brain hurts. So
yeah, I remember you did a tattoo the other day and you posted on Instagram. It was a bad tattoo. Like this fucking kill my back.
Oh, I still can't stand up straight right now. I hobbled in here. I looked like the Hobbit when I came home from work last night. Like I tattooed this woman's throat, and I was literally like standing upside down for a couple, like just putting my body in the wacky ass position to make sure that her tattoo was done right. So
yeah,
it's challenging as learning to tattooing now that I've been getting older. I'll be 51 on Tuesday. So I hope I still got a few good years left of me. So that's why I'm real selective on the tattoos that I do now, because I feel that I have, you know, more years behind me than ahead of me in tattooing.
Yeah. So when doing a tattoo design, like, how does it work? Like if someone comes and, hey, draw me a snake on the back of my neck, you just draw the snake in the back of the neck, or do you like what's the process as far as like art and custom?
I book them an appointment, and then I design them something when I'm with myself. I don't draw in front of people. Okay. I don't produce things in front of people. You know, everybody has their own creative processes, and you know, mine just when it comes, it comes. I mean, I'll be driving to work and I'll get an idea of how I want to do something. I can't explain it. It's just how artist brain works. Like, you know, or somebody asks for something and I've got tons of books at my house and references and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a flow chart of I know where I'm going to go to kind of look to find resources or references and stuff like that. Sometimes people just bring a sticker and they just want that. So it's not every time I'm sitting down a tattoo, I'm reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, it's not like a work of art every time, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a balance between my own ego and it's the person's tattoo. So it's like my job is to give you the best tattoo, something that you want, but it can't just all be like, oh, you only got to get what I want to give you. Yeah. Like, so it's it's there's that kind of two sides of it.
So when you bring on new artists to your shop, what do you look for?
Oh, they got to be good. They got to have good personality, professionalism. You know, there's just they got to be the whole package. You know, I get to work with really amazing people every day, so many different styles and you know, just positive people. I you know, it also takes this one bad apple in any company or job, and it could make everything change the chemistry of stuff. So.
And how do you find your artists? Like is word of mouth? People refer them to you. You do
tattooing is a community of people. Everybody kind of knows everybody. There's a network of sorts, you know, people's names, reputations. Sometimes people are just moving to a town and you know, trying to get established or yeah, I don't know. It's a mystery. It just happens.
Let's like talk about the conference you go to Austin every year. It's like every January.
Yeah, the tattoo convention.
So how's that? How do you start going on that? What's that?
I'm friends with the woman who organizes the whole event. They just had the 20-year anniversary of it last.
And you've been going 20 years?
I've gone a lot of them.
Okay.
Not every single one of them, but especially for the last few years, I've kind of like reconnected with the tattoo conventions and stuff like that. So it's fun to just travel and see some of my friends now that have been in the industry.
And that's more like a pop-up thing, like people just walk in and say, I want this kind of tattoo, and you draw for them.
Well, there are booths there, and then a lot of the bigger name artists have appointments before they get there, or even just all artists in general. The event on the website posts all the artists that would be there and their links to their social media and websites and all that.
You
stuff.
Actually take your whole crew there, right?
A couple of the artists went.
Okay. And what's the purpose of going? Just like put your name out there even more, or like this?
It can help for that. It just
is it business or is it more vacation?
It's both. But it's also networking. I like to go to the conventions because there's a lot of new products that keep coming out in tattooing. So there's a lot of exciting new stuff, machines, and you know, there's big money making products for us to tattoo with. It's an industry now, so it's I'm always kind of learn more and do better tattoos and progress and not being like just
same old.
Yeah.
So as far as tattoo supplies, I'm guessing are there like low quality, medium quality, high quality?
Yeah, there's cheap shit from China, or there's, you know, stuff that's built by tattooers for tattooers. And that's the stuff that I go with.
Is that like pretty reasonable price, or is it really expensive, or in general?
It's what, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, you have to buy regardless.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's nothing is, you know, box of gloves is $30 now. So it's just everything costs money these days.
So speaking of gloves, like I know you have to have like some kind of health permit, right?
Yeah, you have to have there's a state issue license, and then you have to have a bloodborne pathogen training.
Okay.
About
and I guess
disease prevention, and you know,
and people come by once in a while to inspect you. And
yeah, the state of Washington has tattoo inspectors.
Okay, all right. And that's the cost of doing business, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, there's licensing and all that stuff. So
then what else? And so like as far as being an entrepreneur, let's suppose someone's out there, they want to start their own business. What advice do you have for them besides not do it?
Get ready just to work. You're buying yourself a job is what you're doing. Like you have to, you don't really get a day off. Like I eat, breathe, and sleep my studio. It's part of my life. You know, I'm laying in bed going, shit, I got to go get toilet paper for the shop tomorrow. Oh, we're out of this. I need to order that. You know, you're just lots of, you know, you have to really just be dedicated to it. It's not like people come to me and they're like, oh my God, you own your own business. Must be nice. You just get to work whenever you want.
Yeah, right. If that means 8 hours a week, yeah.
I've put my time in. I'm enjoying where I'm at now because my studio is a private, by appointment only studio. It's a very beautiful studio. We're not open to the public. There's not people hanging out there. You know, it's a very chill, relaxing space. I've got really fortunate to find the space that I'm in right now because I had to unfortunately move locations of my studio 2 years ago, but it's in a much better location now. And I'm finally enjoying the fruits of like my hard work because I've spent my time in Tacoma and trying to just, you know, give people good tattoos and educate people on tattooing. And I've had really good help along the way too. I've had some pretty amazing people that have come and worked for me over the years that Obviously I couldn't have done it without them too. Can't do everything yourself.
So your point of view, what are some pros and cons of having your own business?
The cons is just a constant worrying. You're always worrying about stuff. You got to worry about the rent. You got to worry about this, that, the other thing. The pros are like, yeah, I'm going to go home on Tuesday. I scheduled my appointments around a couple of days so I can go home and see my mom, kind of thing. So I get freedom. There's wealth in owning your own business, but it's not necessarily monetary wealth. It's like my quality of life. I don't have to be at work at 5 a.m. I don't have to drive 30 miles. I don't have to work for somebody that I don't like. I only tattoo the people that I want to tattoo right now, so I'm trying to take, appreciate the things that I have. I mean, I'm not going to make $1 million tattooing. You can only do one tattoo at a time.
And how many kids do you have?
I have 2.
Are any of them gotten into tattooing?
I have tattooed. No, I've tattooed both of them. They're not tattooers.
Do they do?
I think I tried to apprentice my daughter once, but we battled the father-daughter. Like any kid trying to work for their parent, like me, doing construction for my old man when I was a kid. You just kind of butt heads. Yeah.
So, are there any tattoo artists out there that you like really admire?
A lot, all of them.
Yeah.
Everybody does something, unique to themselves. It's every time I hop online, my mind is blown just by, and then just finding the people to actually get some of those to go through that process, because it takes time and money and more time, and like, seeing some of these people with these bodysuits and these just massive tattoo projects, and the dedication both from the artist and the client, because without the client, the art doesn't exist. So finding somebody that's dedicated to showing up to doing all their appointments and seeing those projects all the way through, I kind of tip my hat to those people, because so many people, they come in, everybody wants that sleeve, but
it takes some time.
I can't say I've finished, every single one I've started.
You can't do it in one day.
Oh, people think that too. They're like, oh, we can just do this in one day. And then you start tattooing them, and then like 2 hours later, they're like, oh shit, I gotta get my kids, and I realize that reality sets in real quick once that needle touches your skin.
Yeah. So let's suppose there's a new tattoo artist right there, right? They're brand new, they're getting to start, they have their first job. What are your recommendation to them as far as like what to charge?
That just depends on the studio and stuff like that. That's something I really can't say what they should charge.
Like, so how do you decide?
Charge whatever things are worth, you know what I mean?
Okay. So I'm guessing like someone like you guys charge more for someone who's a brand new tattoo artist, right?
Yeah, I don't know what other people charge and stuff like that. I mean, that's their own business between them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's your plan for Tsunami Tattoo? Like, you're gonna keep on doing it as long as you can?
As long as I can, man. Yeah.
You plan like selling it to someone else, or shut it down?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know how to sell. I only know I've been doing it for 23 years. I only know how to run it. It's like being on a merry-go-round that you just can't get off of once you start.
So back to tattoo supplies. Do you get like emails like once a day from a new tattoo person? Hey, buy my tattoo paint, buy this, or
I mean, I ignore all of that stuff. The companies I deal with, they're the ones they're my tried and true companies that I, support, and I don't want to start experimenting. I don't need to, especially to save a dollar or two. It's just
So there's like all these different styles of tattoos, like Japanese style, black and white. Do you have a favorite style? Like maybe you don't do, but you just like the way it looks.
Lately I've been seeing people that are just doing just huge sections of like either like solid black, like it's geometric, but it's not like, it's like using positive and negative spaces on like entire legs or like a sleeve. Like I don't even know how to describe it, because the styles in tattooing evolve and change so rapidly in with social media and stuff like that. What was popular like 3 weeks ago is now it's not, it's nobody's getting that anymore. It's there was throughout the 90s you had like, there were the tribal armbands, and then there were the lower back tattoos, and then in the 2000s it was the rib tattoos.
You mean the tramp stamp, right?
Yeah, I like doing those. Yeah, girls would come in, they have, they smell good, they'd be wearing cute underwears or something. Like there wouldn't be a day on like in 2000 and Saturday, Saturday on a Saturday on at Tsunami, in 2005, there'd be like 5 women bent over chairs getting butterflies tattooed on their lower back. So
like my job is
but I thought they were cool tattoos. Vince Vaughn ruined that for everybody.
Good.
Oh no, I don't I try and be very professional when I'm coming with my clientele. I frown on that. I think that's a terrible thing. When people use tattooing and things like that to do shit like that. So.
Yeah. And so you do a lot of Mandela tattoos, right? Is that one of your favorite tattoo styles? Like, how did that come about?
I was working with a gal who came to work for me from Sweden who specialized in sacred geometry tattoos and kind of sparked my interest in it. And then after she left to go back to Sweden, she people kept like asking for that stuff. And so I was like, well, I'll try doing it. And turned out I like doing it. I mean, I don't want to do the same tattoo forever. So mixing up my styles a little bit. COVID had a lot to do with that though, too. When we were shut down for 3 months, when everybody was partying and watching the Tiger King, I really sat down with myself and I was like, well, where do I want to be when we go back to it? Because I've never had that much time off in my life. I've been working basically since I was about 13 years old and in one form or another. And so I kind of retaught myself how to tattoo a little bit. I started using the iPad to do all my designs digitally, which has been an amazing tool. And then even using some of these, these newer like cordless wireless machines, the technology I don't think I'd be able to do the tattoos I'm doing now without some of that stuff. So that makes sense.
And how often do you bring on guest tattoo artists to your shop? How's that work?
Usually it's my friends if they're traveling or stuff like there's no schedule.
So no random person.
No. It's just the people that I know. It's, I have friends all over the world that tattoo. And so, especially in the summertime, everybody likes to come up to Washington. It's night. The weather's nice. Yeah. Seattle has a tattoo convention the second weekend of August every year over by the Space Needle in the city center. So tattoo artists from all over the country and world come to Seattle for the weekend. And a lot of times my friends will want to stay a couple extra days. Yeah. And so usually I've got a house full of tattooers from slumber party at my house. And so sometimes they'll book clients from the convention or they won't have time to do stuff at the convention. And so they'll just come down and just use the shop for the space to do their work and stuff.
Okay. And then as far as like the artistry of tattoos, right? I know I've seen some tattoo artists draw it freehand, some do sketches. There's all different kinds, right? Is there a best way to do that kind of stuff, or is it like whatever the artist wants to do?
Yeah, it's whatever the artist does. I mean, the end justifies the means of everybody has their own way of coming up with something. Like 10 tattooers could sit down to do the same tattoo and all do something completely different. Okay. But the end result will be there. So.
And I'm guessing, like you said, there's way more tattoo shops open now versus like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's popular. It's in every movie. It's in every TV commercial. It's in our culture now. It's not just limited to rock and rollers and stuff like that. I mean, I first started seeing tattoos, on MTV, and you're like, whoa, that guy's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So
and people turn 18 every day. So once we get,
I remember when I went to Dallas last year, and you recommended a Deep Elm tattoo shop to me, right? I got tattoos there. I remember the day I was there, these 5 mothers with their 5 18-year-old daughters that turned 18 that day came to get their 18-year-old daughters tattoos, right? It was amazing. It was crazy. All right.
People get tattooed during good times and bad times, though.
Yeah.
It's almost a recession-proof job.
Almost, yeah. For all these you've been tattooing, this is a hard question. Do you have like a tattoo like you're really proud of? Like I really did a badass job once. I really went all out on this tattoo.
Oh, I try and do that on all my tattoos. I mean, one of them has to be my daughter. I mean, that was nerve-wracking.
Oh man, I can imagine.
Tattooed my mom a couple of times, so that's a trip too. So I mean, you have to really try and it's like if I fuck this up, I'm gonna see it every Thanksgiving. So
nice. All right, so we're actually gonna do a tattoo for me today, right?
Yes.
Cool. Let me move all the stuff out the way.
Oh. Put my glasses off for a minute. there a restroom?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go do that
Okay.
and wash my hands really quick. You gotta wash your hands for your tattoo.
So it's one of these keys and the door right there.
Okay. I'll be back. Oh man.
Okay, so Tim's going to do a quick tattoo to me. Maybe I should say quick tattoo, but and we're just going to talk through the process, how everything works. Like I said, I have probably 45 tattoos. Tim probably done 25 to 30 of them.
Even misspelled one on you.
Oh yeah.
Don't get lettering for me.
So what's that thing you have in your hand right now?
It's a vibrator. That's what the old timey tattooers like to call these things. They call them dildo machines and whatnot, but I don't know. My wrist really appreciates it. I like that they're quiet, especially now that I'm old. Now that I'm over 50, like I'm the get off my lawn guy. Everything's too loud. Every light's too bright. I used to be happy. I don't know. You get older, and you're like, turn off that racket. All righty. Let's see here. A couple paper towels.
Now, when you tattoo, the needle is actually breaking the skin, right? It's actually like a cut.
No, it's like a massage.
A painful massage at times.
Yeah. Yes, it's a needle. It goes through a couple layers of skin.
Because it's actually like a lot of little mini wounds, right?
Yeah, they're little puncture wounds.
Yeah. You gotta make sure
That
like
need-
you
that
gotta
need- yeah, that
you
needle
gotta take care of it
run at
afterwards.
probably about 127 hertz. The first part you got to do is you got to shave someone. This is the highlight of my job. You get hair all over your desk here.
Is there a tattoo shop out there that you'd like to be a guest artist at?
Usually when I go to Albuquerque, I guessed at a studio called All Is One Tattoo. My best friend owns it. This time when I'm going home this week, I'm not going to be working only because I'm going to be home for 4 days. But I have clients that I've like went to high school with and people that I've known for the better part of 30 years. So usually when I go, anytime I go back to Albuquerque, if I announce that I'll be tattooing, I usually stay pretty busy.
What's the longest you've gone without tattooing?
A month.
A month.
That's it. No, COVID really.
COVID.
The 3 months that I didn't cheat or like sneak into the tattoo shop. Although people hit me up all the time. Let me have you stand up for just 1 second here. You always gotta make sure people stand up when you put the stencils on them because you don't want it to be crooked. Yeah, so COVID was the longest that I didn't tattoo. But I work and then I burn out and then I have to take a break, which is like what I'm doing this week. So you kind of let my batteries will recharge a little bit. I'll actually spend a few days drawing, just hanging out at my mom's house and stuff, getting caught up on my emails and stuff. So many people message me and text me every day that even when I get home from work, and then I've got 10 different text conversations.
How do you deal with that? Like all the emails you must get.
It's hard.
Like,
it's not where I thought I would be at, but the trade-off is I would rather do that than just having people coming in and disturbing me every day, because that, that's even harder when I'm sitting here trying to create something for somebody and people just keep walking in and they're like, yeah, I just wanted, this will only take a second. And then you're like, let me do that. Okay.
so how did you survive COVID?
I just hung out at my house with my dog and my rabbit.
As far as like your business not going under.
Oh, that was tough. That was a lot of sleepless nights because obviously nobody was prepared. Nobody figured we would be closed for 3 months. But I mean, it all worked out. The city of Tacoma, actually, I was able to get a small little grant from the city of Tacoma that got me caught up from being closed those 3 months. So I was able to get unemployment because of, when you do your books and your taxes right.
We do the
Yeah, you can get unemployment. So I was very fortunate. I didn't think I would, being self-employed, but I was very,
I never thought that either.
I was very thankful for to the state of Washington for that. So because I don't know, man, I may or may not have lasted. Who knows? I would have lasted. It would have been fine. I didn't want to have to like owe my landlord any like large sums of money, because that would keep me awake at night. So I'd like to think maybe it was just having good karma. Yeah, that looks good right there.
So those 3 months dealing with COVID, do you think that actually made you a better business person?
It's completely changed my business. So on so many levels, between COVID and then having to move my studio and run and operate my company completely different. But I like where I'm at now. Sometimes, not all change is bad. It was an adjustment period, especially that first year. I didn't know if I had made the right decision, and, being responsible for people who work for me, that's tough. Being someone's boss, like having to make sure that, these people that come work for you, that they're able to come in and do their job and take care of their families and stuff like that.
Yeah, I talk about other pocs I have. Like,
To me, that's the hardest part of running a business. The tattooing and all that stuff, that comes natural. Like, I suck at communicating, and so sometimes, being a boss and stuff, but my intentions are always right, but sometimes the delivery just comes across. So
yeah, people forget when you hire someone, you're not how them. You're like, they probably have a husband, a wife. You like
kids,
that job.
like
it depends on that.
Let's see, how close can you get over here? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at a tattoo convention. Is there a garbage can?
Yeah, it's right over there.
I'm gonna grab that really quick.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready to. Don't cry like you normally do.
I know, right? Don't be a bitch. I'll try not to be a bitch this time.
Yeah, we're gonna do this all like fucking all homemade style. I'm gonna use that cap full of water there. When I first started tattooing, I you're gonna new fresh pair of gloves. When I first started tattooing, I used to go to Wendy's and I would steal. I would go to Wendy's and I would steal the paper ketchup cups. And that's what I would use for my ink caps and stuff, man. Like I've walked a long road in tattooing. Worked for fucking crazy bikers and
So here's a crazy question. You know, like they have like all these like fine artist schools and like learn how to draw or Juilliard, or is there like a tattoo place like that where you can go like become a master tattooist?
yeah, remember the little like the draw me guys, the turtle guy?
Mhm.
Yeah, you did. That's how I like.
Okay.
I drew the pirate. That one was my favorite. We're just gonna spray paint the song.
Does black ink cost differently from colored ink?
They're all kind
Kind of the same.
of the same. So quiet. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can plug this up here. I'm gonna make a little makeshift armrest here for you. Here, just lift your arm up. I'm just gonna put that on there. That okay?
Yeah,
It's kind of padded a little bit.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, you can keep asking your questions.
How do you have to replace that thing right there, the vibrator?
I've had this for 3 years.
Okay, so that lasts pretty long.
I would hope so. I used my stimulus check for it. So
Oh shit. Okay, so that's not cheap. Okay.
Yeah, no. I wanted to be the kid with the new Nikes on the first day of school.
Okay.
And so that's what I use my stimulus check on.
As a design, we're doing this like a what's it called? Fucking not a clock, but what's this thing called we're doing?
It's an hourglass.
Hourglass, yeah, hourglass. So I see a design for hourglass, and you make some changes to it, right? How does that work as far as like your artistic process?
Again, I just start to sit down and just let the universe take over. I wish I could explain it, but
Just something natural that comes to you, like.
well, I try and design the tattoos in the sense that if I was going to get this, would I like what I drew? Because I'm not going to try and sell somebody on some shit they don't need.
Yeah. Like people ask me all the time, like, how you ask good questions? Like I'd ask stuff I want to know myself, right? And most of the time people don't want to know the same thing.
This office has pretty good light. That was the one thing that I was kind of worried about because I didn't bring a lamp.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have a headlamp where it looks like I'm mining for coal when I'm tattooing.
What's the most amount of tattoos you've done in one day?
I think 14 or 15.
14. I guess they were pretty simple.
Yeah, that
designs.
was when I first got into tattooing, everything was the designs on the wall are called flash. And so a long time ago, before there were phones or iPhones, you'd walk into a tattoo shop and look at their designs off the walls. A lot of times we had books. People would come in and flip through the books and find something. Everybody always wanted to make some sort of like personalized changes to the designs and stuff like that. But Um, and I honestly, when I did have all the flash designs at my studio, most of them were drawn that I had on the walls were drawn by my friends. So I was like, if I'm going to have to, do these designs from the wall, they're not just some stock generic designs. They're actually hand painted designs by tattooers. I mean, some of it's better than like the Google, clip art that people bring to me these days. So I was never one of those people that just wrote off tattoo flash as something that was like, oh, it's just some generic thing on the walls. Because people would come in and say shit like that.
How many tattoos do you have?
One.
One. Yeah.
Not enough.
You were 17, you got your first one, right?
Yeah.
And when did you get your last one?
What was the last one I got? Maybe about a year ago. I'm due. I'm itching. I've been tattooing my head the last few years, so I want another tattoo on my head.
Do you ever give yourself tattoos?
Yes.
Okay.
That's like very hard. It feels like you're cutting your own hair. Like you start it and then you're like, do I really want to tattoo myself today? But you have to, like, once you've done that first line, because then otherwise you're just going to have a line tattooed on you.
And you have a go-to guy or go-to person, or you just like, you got like hundreds of people?
Yeah, all of my friends are tattoo artists. So it's more of like, who don't I want to tattoo me? And I get to work with all these awesome people too that do amazing stuff. Like Damien that works for me, man, his fucking tattoos are the illest. He does all this crazy realism stuff. I want a tattoo from him. Lydia does all this amazing fine line illustrative stuff. Like it's just, it never ceases to amaze me, like what people can do with tattooing. And every time I think it's kind of like topped out, you always see the next thing and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, like I know I've seen like some really badass 3D tattoos recently. You're like, whoa, like
there's a lot of fake stuff too.
Is it? Okay.
Well, it's not necessarily that the tattoos are fake, but like some people, they'll adjust the levels on their photographs to a little bit more of a point where it's
okay,
like,
that's what you're saying.
It's unbelievable. I mean, especially sometimes where you see like black ink that it just looks so dark and
Okay, I can see
like
that.
you grow a layer of skin over every tattoo. So it's like there's some stuff. I think there's an Instagram page called the Tattoo Truth Fairy, and it shows pictures of like what these people post and what they really look like. They go to conventions and they find these people, and so you can get an idea of like what tattoos look like as they age and stuff like that.
Is there a way to keep your tattoo from aging?
Keeping them out of the sun.
Okay, that's the biggest thing. Keep out of the sun. Okay.
That's one of the nice things about tattooing in Washington is that we don't have much sun up here. So everybody's skin is like amazing. When I tattooed in the desert Southwest, it was hard. Some days it was even hard just to get the like black into people's skin because it just looked
so
gray.
Tanned, yeah.
And using purple and yellow was out of the question. I remember one time I tattooed this guy who was a roofer in Albuquerque and he wanted a Tweety bird on his back. And the motherfucker was just like, just looked like permanent toast. And you couldn't even see the yellow. His back was just fucking like, when people do skin just like permanently red from being out in the sun.
Yeah. Is there such thing as a tattoo cap in the United States, like where like all the tattoo artists live and like it's known for tattooing?
San Francisco was like I feel, I don't know. I don't keep up on current events. I could be wrong. Somebody'd probably be like, no, it's fucking Brooklyn or some shit. But historically, it's always been like San Francisco, especially like, you had Lyle Tuttle there. You had Ed Hardy, who's still there. A lot of my tattooing was done there in the early 90s because there was a lot of like these up and coming artists that really changed the industry, like people like Marcus Pacheco and Aaron Kane. So I made it a point. I wanted to get tattooed from all of these people who I really looked up to. I mean, you can look at somebody's tattoos all you want, like on the internet or in print, but as an artist, if I'm going to go spend a day or two and get tattooed from these people, I like to just see how they do things and their creative processes and trying to make myself a better tattoo artist.
So this is probably a weird question, but Is there a difference in like the
Here,
paint?
you want to try?
No, I'm good.
Just gotta follow the lines.
Yeah, I can't draw a straight line to save my life.
Neither I.
Is there a difference between like the pain level of a guy and a girl's skin?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Girls are probably tougher.
Yeah, I'll probably agree with that.
Everybody's different. Everybody gets through it somehow, one form or another. I've never had anybody, stop halfway
Yeah.
through a tattoo. I mean, on big tattoos, there's always a, predetermining kind of stopping point because
Yeah.
after a couple hours of this shit, it sucks.
I know most people say like your ribs hurt the most, but for me, it was like the ones you did for me in the back of my Achilles heel and my wrists hurt way, way more than the one you did in my ribs.
Well, you're not crying yet, so.
Not yet, but give me time.
Doing okay? Need to stretch your arm out a little?
I'm good. Of course, the fact I have this bourbon in me probably helps out some too.
Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, man, you got me to tattoo on a Sunday.
Is there any tattoo out there that you haven't done yet, like any kind of like design or like that you're like, okay, I really wish I could do, like, I don't know.
No, I don't know what I like to do as tattoos anymore. I design stuff and I'll post stuff like on my Instagram sometimes of designs that I want to do, but I'm so used to just people telling me what they want. That's kind of been one of the great things about tattooing. It takes the thinking out of what I want to make for art. Because somebody gives me an idea and I'm like, okay, cool, I can make that. But when I just sit down and I'll just look at like a blank canvas or something, I don't know. Tattooing is all these years of tattooing. It's kind of, I don't know. I want to say it's like robbed me of being an artist, but like I'm constantly just designing stuff for people.
Making like alterations to the design.
Yeah. And when I get, and after working all day, it's like anything, you get home and it's like, I don't want to design. I can't make art for myself because I'm tired.
So if someone came to you and said, hey, I don't know what I want. I don't want a rip piece. Whatever you design is fine for me. How do you do that as far as your process?
I would at least have them give me a little bit of a direction. They don't have to tell me exactly what they want.
You
but
said,
like,
Tim, I trust you. You do great work. Just surprise me. Whatever you do is fine with me.
oh, I'd probably just draw a big old penis. You said anything. Or anything but that.
I mean, yeah, anything is anything. I'm sure you come up with something pretty cool though.
Oh yeah, I have some people that mostly everything I do is stuff that I do just design for people. But they just give me they just kind of point me in the right direction of what they want, and then I kind of take over from there.
Yeah, one thing like about your process, like I've had tattoos. I want to put it here. Like, no, Jason, don't put it here because the whatever it is, right? It goes better here, right? So I definitely appreciate that.
Do the cameras get to see any of the tattooing here?
Yeah. It's on both of us. And what
I'm probably gonna play it back and hear my voice and be like, ah.
Yeah, trust me, everyone hates their voice. Even me, I still hate my fucking voice. Everyone hates their voice. Have you ever been using this and the battery went dead in the middle of tattoo?
Yeah, this machine has 2 batteries, so one of them's on the charger.
Okay.
I can get about 5 hours out of.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job designing this machine. Probably for my birthday, I might buy myself another one. I like having 2 machines. I have another one that I use at work that but it has a cord to it. And this one, I like this one because it's wireless.
So
we literally could just be kicking it in Pioneer Square, smoking fentanyl.
Yep, exactly right. Stepping over homeless people. Stepping over homeless people.
I wish that stuff makes me sad too. It's definitely not something funny.
Yeah, that fentanyl shit is no joke. Especially how like mix it with everything. Like you think you're 100% grade A cocaine or whatever drug it is, or heroin is like actually like 50% fentanyl, and yeah, it's a shame, right? And like you got people like smoking fentanyl on public buses and insane. So I know you do a good job on Instagram. How are you taking advantage of social? How are you taking advantage?
I get like 4 likes. I'm not that cool.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. How you taking advantage of social media to expand your business?
The only thing I can do is post a picture and be like, this what I do is just like everybody else. Look at my thing. Copy someone's hashtags that are more famous than me. I'm trying to figure it out. I hate social media. I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel I can't get off of. Like I feel like I'm in high school again, and it's ruined lots of my friendships. People get it affects people a lot differently, especially psychologically.
Yeah, it does.
People get jealous, people get all kinds of stuff. So it's like a blessing and a curse all at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely does good and bad. There's no doubt about that.
I couldn't, especially I couldn't even imagine like if I was a kid trying to figure out how all this stuff works. That's gotta be rough.
Yeah, I can't imagine like you're a kid, you see all these like pictures of beautiful people. Oh, everyone's beautiful, but I'm not.
Lives are perfect.
But there's some good to it too.
Yeah, no,
It's like
I mean,
anything.
because it's done wonders for. I mean, as far as tattooing goes, it's definitely the requests that people ask to get tattooed on them now are people get people get cool stuff nowadays. Almost every time I sit down to tattoo, I'm doing something fun. So
What would make you to tell someone, no, I'm not going to tattoo you?
if it's just something that I don't think I can do a good job on. I mean, obviously, if somebody wanted something, racist or something
Yeah.
stupid like that, but nobody comes in asking for that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's the least of my concerns.
And you have to be 18 to get tattooed, right?
Yeah, state law, you must be 18.
Okay.
Your parents cannot sign for you. You have
Okay.
to have legal, valid,
18.
state issued identification. Hanging in there, not gonna pass out.
Not yet. I'm hanging on there. It's tough though. I ain't gonna lie. The tears are like right below, right here. The tears are right here. So when people come in and like, I guess I say unconventional tattoo, like it's like, I want to tattoo my fingers or tattoo my face. You're like, okay, whatever. As long as you pay money, you're like, hey.
No.
Are you like, hey?
As a custodian of this craft, it's my job to make sure that I'm presenting tattooing in a positive
Okay.
light. I won't tattoo first of all, I don't really tattoo people's faces. And I won't tattoo somebody like that if especially if they already don't have a bunch of tattoos.
Okay. So definitely a first time tattoo should not be a face tattoo.
No, we call those job stoppers.
Okay, yeah. I used to joke around back in the day, like only way you should get a neck tattoo is if like you're Allen Iverson or like Master P, right? Like pretty much made in a life, right? Yeah,
there's always like a stigma with neck tattoo. When I was younger in tattooing, now it's like it's common to see people with neck and face tattoos. I worked with a couple of guys in the 90s in Albuquerque, and they were like the original face tattooed people. And people lost their fucking minds when they saw this shit. I mean, everywhere we went. One of my friends, Jason, he ended up getting his lasered off. He flew out to Baltimore or something in the early 2000s. There was only this doctor on the East Coast had only one of like 2 lasers on the North American continent at the time that was capable of removing the tattoo without any scarring.
Yeah, you see some face tattoo, like, what the fuck are you doing, right? But although like Post Malone, I could like his face tattoos, right? I think look okay, right? Of course, the fact he's like a multi-billion-dollar sing artist helps out too, right? But you see people tattoo like,
yeah, but the dude that works at Arby's isn't.
No, yeah, yeah.
And those tattoos, they don't wash off. They don't come off with nail polish remover. Like
literally don't. I mean, I don't know.
I have this tattoo on my forearms, 31 years old, man.
I mean, if you hit the lottery, like the real lottery, like $250 million, yeah, maybe get a face tattoo, But if you're working at Arby's, like fucking, like,
I would just get my face like made pretty or something.
Yeah.
If I made that much.
Pump some Botox into it or something. Yeah, but tattoos definitely come a long way. And one thing that's crazy, like when I was growing up in the military, like no one had a tattoo, right? Every once in a while I go to the military base on Fort Lewis, go to the gym. Every time I go, everyone is a tattoo, right? From like pretty much like from leg up to neck, right? Like you see neck tattoos, like finger tattoos.
I mean, the Army always had regular. They like even in the years that I had Tsunami when we were on 38th Street, especially when we were at war with Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. They changed the regulations so many
They
times.
did.
They got at one point they got a new sergeant major in the Army, and they wanted to photograph everybody's tattoo. And so we had guys coming into the shop to try and get fake tattoos drawn on them so they could get photographed and then go back and get the real tattoos. And then there were times where, the Army just deregulated everything, and, soldiers were in there getting like neck tattoos, and then they changed it and they told these guys, you don't get that shit taken off, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, that's one that pissed me off. Like, when the Iraq War first started, we had trouble getting people in the military, right? And so they started letting felons in, like people with tattoos in, like doesn't matter. And then we had enough people, they came back, okay, if you have a tattoo, you get kicked out. So you're telling these people who serve in Iraq, Afghanistan, several combat tours, you let them with a tattoo, now they say you got to kick them out because they have a tattoo.
There was a time where the recruiting numbers were low, and I forget, it was some crazy amount of people who were qualified to go into the military, but the only thing that stopped them was that they were tattooed. I remember reading about that. And then that's when the Army was just like, fuck it, we don't care. And then they opened the floodgates.
And 3 years later, it said, I know we said, but
and then they changed it. Yeah.
You have a tattoo, fuck you.
They sure did.
They fucked a lot of people over. I know a lot of good soldiers got kicked out because of that. So how often you got to change that little ink thing out?
Oh, this is a different needle. This one's just bigger.
Okay. And you actually throw like parties at your little tattoo shop every once in a while too, right?
I used to. Now that I got a place in town to throw them, so
okay.
I don't throw them at my shop anymore. It's nice just having an actual bar that's equipped to do that. They were fun, but I don't like having to go to my shop at 7 o'clock in the morning to clean it because there's cups everywhere, things like that. So.
So Burning Man is this summer?
It's Labor Day weekend. What's over on Labor Day weekend? You have to be, basically you got to have basically everyone leaves on that Monday. Last year I left on Sunday morning because I was over it, but I'm glad I did, because there's an exodus when you leave the Burning Man. People sat in line in their cars for 16 hours trying to get a Burning Man last year. Because
you might as well stay there another day.
Because there's the road, it funnels down to one lane. So you've got like 8 lanes of thousands of cars that all have, there's one little bridge that your car has to drive over to get off of the asphalt to get onto the playa. And
it seems like it'd be easier to stay an extra day to miss the traffic.
Or leave the day before.
Early.
Yeah.
Or leave the day before.
But sometimes even I've sat in line for 6 to 8 hours or longer to get in too. So there's nothing easy about Burning Man.
Are you going to this year too?
I have tickets. I haven't had.
So how far advanced, like somewhat, like supposedly I've never been before, how far advanced do I start planning and trying to get tickets, all that kind of stuff? Or is it too late already?
I'd say a year. No, it's not too late. The ticket sale already happened. So it usually sells out in a couple minutes, but like once the ticket fulfillment usually comes in about July, that's when people actually start receiving their physical tickets. And a lot of people, they'll get tickets, but then they'll realize that they can't take 2 weeks off of work, or they got kids, or so then there's a secondary market. You got to be careful you don't get scammed. There's a lot of people trying to scam people, or they'll put them on eBay and like try and mark them up some ridiculous amount of money. But that's usually kind of frowned upon, upon the Burning Man community and stuff like that. But there's also like regional groups and burners. Even in Seattle, there's Seattle burner groups and things like that. And if you get a little involved with that kind of stuff, that also helps your chances, having a network of people who go to Burning Man, because like I said, tickets came of even last year. I think I had an extra ticket up until about a week before
Yeah.
Burning Man.
So
that
Burning Man, is it a nonprofit?
Yes, it is set up
Okay.
as a nonprofit. I'm pretty sure they make a profit.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that, it's a lot of volunteers.
I wonder how they decide what artists get to show the art off there, right?
You submit a thing. You
Okay.
you
Show
you
your
give them their
design, whatever.
diagrams and what you're trying to do. They even have art grant programs available for artists. They have low income tickets available for people to go. They try and include everybody. It's not just a festival for rich people and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Is this
So-
not a rich high tech person thing?
No. So it's
I know you said you have a friend from England. What's like another like random foreign countries that you know someone to come there from?
oh, I've met people from everywhere, from South Africa, from England, Europe, Asia, Japan, Italy. A lot of pretty people there too.
And so you recently had one of your artists start their own business, right?
Oh yeah, one of my artists get ready to leave at the end of the month.
So when your artist says, "Hey, I want to start my own business," like what advice do you give them? Like,
Oh, I think they're ready when it's time for
Yeah.
for doing all that. Work hard. I just try and get through every day. That's all. That's my advice. Just come to work every day for the rest of your life.
so I know a lot of entrepreneurs or small business owners, they do a bad job of like setting money aside for retirement, Social Security. How do you make sure you do that? Make sure, because you can't work forever. Like, how do you make sure like you set aside, like if you have a regular
Well, I
job?
was gonna rob a bank, but they don't have money in them anymore.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Because like most people, like start for a regular company, like they have all this stuff to take care of for them.
Not
Like,
me.
yeah, how do you make sure you set this money aside?
You die. Yeah, when you let me know. Try and get through it. I'm happy every time I get through each month. When you own your own business, it's everything, either by the time you pay your taxes and this, that, the other thing, and it all gets absorbed.
So as a tattoo artist, you use your hands a lot. You like go get like hand massagers once in a while?
I do about once or twice a month.
Okay.
I
You have like a
I
regular
go
person
get
you go
I
to?
get a massage
Okay.
from a massage therapist, mostly for my back and my shoulders. Lately, one of my knees has been hurting because I find that I put a lot of pressure
Uh-huh.
on one of my knees while I'm tattooing, so I'm constantly having to adjust, how I position my body and stuff when I tattoo. This is actually pretty comfortable, being able to just kind of just rest on the table here. It's like having a big armrest.
And so the needles, it's based on like how thick the lines are, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the amount of needles. There's a different thickness in the gauges of the
Okay.
needles as well too. Now there's hundreds of different configurations of needles.
Is there a certain color ink that lasts longer on your skin?
Black's
the
green
blue.
seems to be the color that I've seen tattoos that are like 50 and 60 years old, man. I've got green still in there.
So
Reds and yellows can be they may not stand up.
here's a question for you. So like I got a marijuana leaf tattooed on my ankle when I went to Dallas, right? In green ink. That green ink, it hurt like a motherfucker, right? Like does different color ink hurt differently
No.
or is just where it was?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was just where it was.
Okay.
Yeah, the color doesn't determine what it feels like.
Okay.
There's no different procedure between doing like the black and gray or the color.
So I'm gonna ask you, how do you come out that you tattoo people like Guns N' Roses and Stevie-O?
Well, Steve-O used to hang out at my tattoo shop every day when I lived in Albuquerque. He was friends with one of my coworkers. and
Okay.
We would all go out drinking together after work.
So is he
and
really
stuff
that
like
fucking crazy?
Yeah, no, he was cool. He was a super nice guy. He was really friendly, and there was a bar down the street from our tattoo shop called Sonny's Bar and Grill in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's no longer there, but Steve-O and my coworker Jason, they both had kind of like a large bar tab with that, and the owner
He was part of Jackass during this time.
No, this was before Jackass.
Okay.
He was like Big Brother Skateboard Magazine used to come out to Albuquerque and do features on him and stuff. So he was skateboarding and doing stuff like that. I think he had already went to the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown School as well. A lot of the stuff he did on that first season of Jackass was like stuff that he used to just do at the bar to get people to buy him drinks. I'm glad he's sober now, but the owner of the bar is like, well, the logo of the bar was a caricature of the owner's face, and so the owner is like, well, if you get my face tattooed on you, I will make your bar tab magically disappear. And Steve-O didn't even have no money. He just comes to the shop one day. He's like, dude, can you do this fucking tattoo on me? I'll trade you some shoes. He had like a credit from the local skate shop. And
he was out there hustling.
Yeah. And so he traded.
I had no idea.
He traded. Long story short, he traded me a pair of shoes that didn't fit. But then one day, I right when I moved up here, actually, I turned on MTV, and there he was on fucking Jackass, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I saw the tattoo I did on, and I was like, "Yeah, that's him." Like, I had no idea like what was going on. And I saw last time he was at the Tacoma Comedy Club. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a
year or two ago.
I know recently I saw his RV on I-5 recently.
And when he played in Tacoma, I went and caught his show, and he always greets his fans after his shows and stuff. So I said hi to him and got my picture taken with the tattoo I did on him. So.
Like, how about Guns N' Roses?
I tattooed Duff from Guns N' Roses. Him and the drummer from the Reverend Horton Heat came into my shop in Seattle at Lucky Devil. They were doing some recording stuff, and I think he was friends with like my boss at the time or something. So she kind of had set that up. And I did a dagger on his forearm with a banner that said LAMF, which stands for like a motherfucker. He was really nice too. And then I went out to dinner with him afterwards. It was like him and Chris Novoselic, and I think Izzy was with them, and Kim Thale from Soundgarden. So and I'd only been living in Seattle like a short time. So it was this was in '98, so it was still kind of like the tail end of those grunge years. So it was pretty kind of awesome just getting to meet these guys that I'd only like seen on TV. It was a fun day at work. Unexpectedly fun day at work.
So you live in Tacoma for a while. What are some pros and cons of living in Tacoma?
I don't know. It's a tough one. Tacoma, it's like a love-hate relationship that I have with Tacoma. I think that, there's a lot of good people there. There's a lot of good there. There's a lot of artists. There's a lot of creative people. The music's good. There's, Tacoma's got things that are just, that make it Tacoma, that doesn't feel like anywhere else. And there's times that I threaten to want to move away, but I don't know where I would go because I'm pretty spoiled where I'm at. It's good to come to work and do fun tattoos, and I've got a lot of good friends that live there, and it's just been. I've tried to make it a better place in all the years that I've been there. Give people good tattoos and try and make them happy. Gonna cry out?
I'm trying to hold back. It's very hard. So if someone came to you and they say they want to be a tattoo artist, well, I'll have me phrase that question. If you want to be a tattoo artist, you need to be an artist first, right?
Well, it would help.
Okay. Like can somebody say, I'll be a tattoo artist and learn the business and learn how to do tattoo later, or you got to be an artist first, right?
Yeah. There's a process for doing this stuff. You can't, you're just not going to walk in and get the keys to the Corvette. Like, it's, for me, I've dedicated my whole life to doing this.
Do you think
Since
being
I was
do
17.
you think being an artist comes naturally to people, or something you can learn? Can you be taught how to do it? Does it come naturally?
I think I think you can be an artist, but I think you can always learn more. I mean, I know people that know how to tattoo that don't necessarily know how to draw, but they know that they've learned the technical side of this, and they know aesthetically what looks good. I mean, some tattoos have certain formulas to them, and once you figure that out, you can apply it to everything. There's like no one right way of doing it.
There's no one right way, but are there like several wrong ways to do it?
Yeah, of course. I don't claim to have all the answers either.
So, of course, you done several sleeves. What's the biggest piece you've done? Like you've done like a whole back piece, whole leg piece.
Yes, I've done leg sleeves, back pieces, some front torso stuff. But again, it's just people trying to, with doing those big projects, it's just the commitment levels of doing them.
I mean, the time
Just
level, the money level.
Sometimes people start these projects and then, just life stuff happens. They get their girlfriend pregnant, they lose their job, they move away.
Oh shit. I didn't know it would look like that.
There's that too.
It looked badass cool. And the dude who was like 6 foot, 200 pounds, freaking ripped. But me, 5'10", 250 pounds, doesn't look so cool. Do most of your kids still live in the Tacoma area?
Yeah, I see them all the time. My daughter's a cook at a local restaurant. My son's a soccer coach.
Like a high school or something, or
he coaches a girls team out in Puyallup. I think,
okay,
like the select teams or something. He's been playing soccer his whole life, so that's what he loves, is soccer.
Yeah, everyone needs to do something they love. No doubt about that. I don't know what it is.
Almost done.
After tattooing for like a certain number of times during the day, I'm guessing your fingers ever cramp up?
No, my brain gets
Brain.
my brain hurts at the end of the day. There's some days I leave work, I don't even know what my name is anymore. I'm all, I got the dumb. Some people just they're like energy vampires. So you're putting your hands on these people.
Yeah,
just
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Some people are just really just intense. So some days you get done with work and you're just wiped out just from just being in the room with somebody.
I know what you mean.
But I like that I make friends with, a lot of my clients that get to spend time with people and you get to know them and share experiences and stories and stuff like that. I mean, it's there's a cool little bond that happens between people when you tattoo them. Will always be there. Like, I go to restaurants sometimes and, somebody that I'll run a waiter that I tattooed, 2 years ago or something, and I'll get my bill and they'll, give me like a discount or something. I don't expect it, nor do I want it, but it's just kind of, it's a nice feeling sometimes where people are just like, hey man, I really appreciate that thing that you did for me. And
so obviously the youngest person you tattooed is probably 18. What's the age of the oldest person you've tattooed?
The oldest person I tattooed was 91.
Oh shit.
And he was fucking cool.
91.
Fuck. This guy was the coolest dude on earth. And I wish I had taken a picture of this man and his tattoos.
Yeah, you fucked up by not doing that.
He was, I had only been tattooing a couple of years. I was working in Albuquerque. It was a Saturday. These people, it was a busy day at the shop, and these people came in and with like, looked like they're coming in with their grandpa or some shit. So this cat was he was a Italian American. He was from New York. He came
Was this
in,
his first tattoo?
no.
Got a lot of them.
He I think we're done.
Okay.
I'll put a bandage on
Okay.
that in a few minutes. Let me tell the story first.
Yeah.
And so he comes in and he wants a name. And I was like, okay, I can do a name. And so he comes back into my room, and I'm like scared because he's like fragile and stuff. But this dude's covered in tattoos.
Uh-huh.
He's got like every piece of like Sailor Jerry flash you could think of. And then he was a handsome, you could tell he's a really handsome guy. He had like a gold tooth. His hair was all slicked back. He was fucking from New York and shit. But he had chicks' names all crossed out down his arm. Yeah, there must have been 25 names.
Do you ask if you've had all them chicks?
And they were all in varying degrees of like from dark to light over the years of like, and that's what I did. I covered up a woman's name with I blacked out the ribbon, and I added one more. Like, he must have been the guy that sat for the Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah.
The guy getting the thing done. And when I was tattooing him, he's like, yeah, this will probably be the last one. And I was like, you did it, man. You're the man. Like, you got all these chicks' names tattooed on you, crossed out. Like, you traveled all over the world. He had cool tattoos, man. And you could tell he lived a badass life. Like, I was like, I want to be you.
Fucking 90 years old, still getting tattooed.
Yeah.
Then that's an
I'm still
inspiration
getting
right
chicks'
there.
names tattooed on you. I'm kind of sad. Like, I'm like, I'd love to meet a chick that make me wake up in the morning and get like fucking Amy written across my throat or something, man. I had to be, people are like, oh, who'd get a name? I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm kind of lonely. I could use a kind of a fucking freak show like that and fucking make me wake up in the morning and get a fucking name tattooed on my cheek or something. Like,
oh man, that's a shame you didn't get a picture of it though. 91 years old getting tattoos, man. That's fucking badass right there.
He was. I forget. I didn't catch his name. And if I could go back in time and when I would go back in time in my career, I would have documented the tattoos that he had on him.
Yeah.
Because that generation of people are dying off. That like World War II, the tattoos themselves weren't the greatest to begin with.
Yeah.
And when those soldiers and military people were getting tattooed, during World War II, Vietnam,
we're about to go to war.
The tattoo shops would be open 24 hours a day. They were open during the military payday. So their goal was to get them in, get them out. The soldiers are drunk. They didn't have to change out all this shit. Obviously the hygiene factor. Is completely different. But and
talk about reason needles.
Yeah, they would just pick up the same machine, and they'd have like a bucket with like a sea sponge in it, and they would just soap and the same shit on everyone. And like tattooing's come a long way, and thank God in its hygiene of everything.
Nice. You gonna do another drink?
Yeah, I'll take just a little sip. I gotta drive back to Tacoma, so I can't get too crazy. You like your tattoo?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. You always do great work.
I'm gonna pour a little bit of this antiseptic bag here. We didn't even make too much of a mess.
So I'm guessing this is your first time doing a tattoo on a podcast.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast, so I'm kind of we'll see how it when I rewatch it later. How goofy I look. This is some new stuff. This is it's a bandaging system called Tagaderm. They use it for people with burns.
Thank you, good sir. That's the biggest thing with having care. Like you don't want to scratch your tattoo afterwards, right? You want to just
after a couple of days. You can leave that on for a couple of days. Yeah. This stuff really helps. I, for the most part, have done everything that I was not supposed to do to take care of my tattoo. So,
have you ever like gone swimming right afterwards or get a sunburn afterwards?
Man, I got my back outlined once. And like 2 days later, I went to a concert at the Gorge, and I had to go camping, and that was probably one of the dumbest things I ever did. because I didn't have, proper place to, wash it. Sometimes I'll tattoo people and I'll be almost done with their tattoo and they're like, oh, I'm going on a 5K run tomorrow. It's like, no, you're not. You just got the back of your leg tattooed. Like it's not going to happen. No. Oh, okay. Almost done with that. Oh, that's right here. Let's take that.
So back to the business aspect of what you do. Like, how about this question? Like, on an average basis, like day to day, like what percentage of days spent like just doing business stuff versus tattoo stuff versus whatever else you're doing?
I mean, the business aspect is making sure that we have all of the supplies and equipment that we need every day to do our job.
So do you like take care of, do you buy the stuff for your tattoo artist?
Yeah, I take care of all the stuff for the shop. So, to make sure that we have proper equipment, I buy good equipment, having the right tools to do your job.
Now, being a tattoo artist is like same as like being working a salon where, like, if you're ever like salon or barber shop, like each barber has to give the head guy like a rent or something like that. How does that work? Like they pay you like monthly rental fee or something, or?
Everybody's an independent contractor, so we all have our own contracts, and that's between me and the people that work for me. So that's how that works.
Okay.
But we make an agreement that works for the both of us.
Okay. And
the shop provides a lot, that space to work and clients.
And do you do social media for your artists too? Or
no, they handle their own social media, and I handle the shop page in between trying to do everything else in my career. What's this one? Got a key.
So you tried both of these already, right?
No, I think this was only my little second one.
Okay, I'm gonna see which one you like the best. I think you tried this one and that one, right?
No.
So back to the business part. What's like been your most difficult challenge as far as keeping the shop open? That was COVID. Well, I'll rephrase that. Was COVID the most difficult like part of opening it up, of being a business owner?
9/11 was the most difficult.
Was it?
Part. Yeah. 9/11, I thought my business was going to go under.
Yeah.
I'd only been in business for about a year, and
I thought people that got there got a lot of patriotic tattoos during that time period.
That was afterwards. When 9/11 hit, nobody knew what the fuck was going on.
Okay,
like,
I get it.
Nobody was going out of their houses. Nobody was going to the malls. Nobody was going anyplace public. Like, the anthrax was being sent through the mail. Like, the world was kind of a crazy spot.
Like, people forget about the fucking anthrax bullshit.
And so nobody knew what was up or down with what was going on. And I had, I had used all of my money and my funds to start the shop. And so when 9/11 hit, business, just whatever little business I had, completely dropped off.
Okay.
And so there was a few months where it just that, because that was September, and tattooing has always been a very, up until about the invention of the television shows like New York Inc. and LA Inc., tattooing used to be very seasonal. It'd only be busy in the spring and the summer months. Once the fall and winter came out, there were winters where we would just sit around and nobody would come in the shop for a week or two. Tattooing was always as lucrative as it is now. So September happened, and typically we would slow down anyways because the state fair comes to town. There's people start going back to school. There's just a shift in everything. The fall's coming, the weather's changing. So you get September, October, November, you're going into those dark, gray, cold days in Washington. And so, I had to borrow money to pay my rent one of the months because like nobody came in. But then, and then we ramped up the war machine, and the first group of soldiers that we tattooed were the reservists, because they called up the reservists and they brought them out to Fort Lewis, and they sat there for months, not knowing what they were doing, and they weren't really paying them. So everybody was living off of their credit cards, and we just started taking credit cards at the tattoo shop. So we you know, I made my first round of like military regular friends, because they were just like, you know, we don't know what we're doing. I you know, signed up for one weekend a month. And then I was mowing my lawn and the phone rang, and now I'm sitting here at Fort Lewis.
I'm doing like 20,000 weekends in a row.
Yeah. And they sat there for what felt like a year until they you know, until everything started happening. And then we would get like regular rotations of soldiers back through the shop, especially when they'd come back. You know, you knew they were back in town because they'd pull up in like a brand new Mustang, like shopping bags full of shit, you know, shoes, and they'd all have brand new shoes on and stuff like that. Like, because, you know, they got extra, you know, combat pay or whatever, extra money that they got tax-free for over there. And they were over there for a year and couldn't spend any of their money. And so they just come back and just go all buck wild and walk in and want to, you know, I want a big tattoo. And you know, it was just, you know, the parking lot looked like a brand new car lot, like, because everybody be all dope getting some new wheels and new tattoos and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So you moved from 30th Street to where you are right now,
6th Avenue.
6th Avenue. So how did you pick the new place? Like, how does that work? Like, as far like, do you pick on it based on like how many tattoo artists you want, or like?
I had to move my shop, and so I found the space that suited for what I needed.
Okay, because that's a pretty cool place. Like as far as like the way it looks and stuff.
Yeah. No,
because actually it actually must be an apartment, right?
It's a live workspace.
Live workspace. Okay.
So technically, I could live and work there, but
okay,
it's just. I don't.
I mean, one way to save money, right?
Huh? Actually, my lease was more expensive because it's a commercial space and not a live space. If I had done a residential lease, if it was just me wanting to like live there and tattoo there, it would be cheaper. But you know, having a business in there, the lease structure is different, so they charge like triple net and things like that on the lease. So
yeah. Have you ever had to kick anybody out of your tattoo shop?
Not this one. 38th Street. Yeah, almost every other day.
Did you? Because that's what those more. Well,
I mean, when you have a walk-in shop, you don't, you know, you got crazy people walking in, you got methods walking in, you just got assholes walking in. Most of 99.9% of the people that come in they're great, they're nice, they're friendly, they want to get tattooed, you know. But just like anywhere, you know, there's assholes everywhere. Sometimes we're the asshole.
So, what do you see the future of tattoo artistry being like? Do you see like you're like those AI stuff? Do you see like tattoo artists like losing their jobs or robots doing tattoos, or like
I don't know. It'll be all AI and robot arms. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I mean, people always get tattooed. I mean, people have been they find frozen cavemen.
I know, don't they? Right.
So it's not like tattooing's going anywhere.
Yeah, they've been getting tattoos since the the ancient times.
It will evolve. It will. You know, like Jeff Goldblum says, you know, life finds a way. And
tattoos.
It'll have that. You know, right now. There's probably some kid in his basement that's going to come out and change the world with the shit. You know, take it to the next level. So.
That's a good point. Do you ever think of the fact like when you do a tattoo, you post on Instagram that it might motivate or inspire some little kid?
I've known that even just from people who I've tattooed. I've run into people that are badass tattooers, and they've been like, dude, thanks, you tattooed me 25 years ago, and that got me interested, and I've been a tattooer. So I have about 3 or 4 people like that.
That's fucking pretty cool.
Yeah, I was watching a video on a tattooer out of Phoenix one time, and he was talking to the old days, how he got. He's like, yeah, there was this guy Tim in New Mexico. He's doing all this cool shit. And it was like, so you never really know who you're gonna. Who you might inspire. So, I mean, that was like when we built our little Pac-Man ghost cars, like, who knows, some kid might see that, grow up and do something, and everything is always progressing and changing.
Yeah, definitely. So Tim, is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't, or anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. I mean, I've had a great afternoon here and stuff.
Thank you. Cool.
I hope I didn't curse too much.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So if we got to hear any advice or wisdom you can give us on anything you want to talk about? No pressure.
I wasn't expecting such a heavy question. It's good advice if you have shit for brands, right? That's what Hunter S. Thompson said.
Nice.
Yeah, no, thanks for whoever watched and rewatched, or I just try my best at everything. This is new territory for me. So
yes. So Tim, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. And remember to be great every day.